What's your blood alcohol content?
How did you get camo Jordans?
They make them. Is it not a word? Dude, it is to a word. You harken back.
You harking back.
No, you
right?
do not. I was useless.
Wait, hold on. Delonica?
I'm hurting, man.
Are you puking? Did you just bust out a Sargento?
We're a Tillamook family.
What's the proper technique to milk the teat? If they are competing for state championships, they ain't paying for their blizzards. Hey y'all, welcome to the Marty Smith podcast at Outsider. Marty Smith, Wes Blankenship. We actually get to do this together.
We're actually
in
not
person,
between a Zoom camera.
not on a computer screen. We are here at the world center of racing, the Daytona International Speedway, and this is your first maiden voyage
time
down to the beach. I think it's my 22nd or something like that. And I was saying to some of the NASCAR folks just a few moments ago, I've been so blessed in this career with what I've done at ESPN to cover so many amazing events. I've met so many iconic athletes of our time and had the opportunity to interview them and learn about their lives. But when I pull in to the Daytona International Speedway, it feels like coming home. And I love it, man. You come through the Turn 4 tunnel and you make your way down the road on the backstretch between the infield here and the lake. And you see all the RVs lined up.
Yep.
You see all the fans having the time of their life here celebrating NASCAR racing and to cheer on their heroes. And it's just such amazing energy. This sport has awesome momentum right now. And I want to hear your impressions. You got to see Daytona live for the first time on Thursday night at the Duel.
That's right, the duels.
You guys got to sit in NASCAR suite. You can't hide money.
No, we sat in the France suite.
I mean, like
Come
I
on.
say, were you off, kids? Was your wallet a little fatter sitting up there, boss?
I'm a little fatter after eating up there. I got the France dog, which was you roast or you cook the bun in butter on the griddle. That's the first step. They give you step-by-step directions on how to do it. You pick your dog, you get some chili, you get cheese, mustard, onions, and relish, or slaw. And I told Travis, man, this thing is going to have me barking tonight. And I'm here. I made it. But, yeah, it was incredible, man. Your description to a T. If that don't light your fire, your wood's wet, Marty.
I'm telling you, it's so cool to see the guys working in the garage. I can't wait to sit down. We have a who's who of the NASCAR Cup Series. It's a little windy here in Daytona. The fellas are crew's doing a great job making sure that stuff doesn't blow away like Annie M. But we have an amazing lineup of drivers coming on this edition of the Marty Smith podcast here at Daytona International Speedway. We have 2020 champion Chase Elliott. We have 2012 champion Brad Keselowski. We have 2004 champion Kurt Busch, who won the 2017 Daytona 500. NASCAR President Steve Phelps is going to come hang out with us and discuss the momentum that the sport has. Ben Kennedy, who's the heir apparent to the France throne, is going to come and hang out with us and spend some time and talk about the momentum of the sport. We have Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, Ricky Stenhouse, Corey LaJoie, and Ryan Blaney. That is an unbelievable lineup of NASCAR Cup Series stars that are going to share not only their passion for doing this and what they believe their year might hold, what the Daytona 500 might hold, but I've known a lot of these guys. Actually, I've known them all their entire Cup careers. I'm an old man now.
You know Chase since he was a kid.
I've known Chase since he was born. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, I remember seeing Chase sit on Dale Earnhardt's lap in the garage area. It's just unbelievable that I'm the old guy now that has lived all the stories in the sport. But what an amazing time, and I can't wait to get this thing rolling. You know, I have so many amazing memories at this racetrack, and it's funny, Dale Earnhardt Jr. winning the 2014 edition of the Daytona 500 is one that I'll never forget. And the reason is not only was Dale Jr. racing his competitors, he was racing the rain. And so that race was so aggressive. And to see Denny Hamlin, who is Mr. Daytona now, Denny's won 3 of the last 7 Daytona 500s, I think is the stat. and he was coming so hard on the high line, and Junior was brilliant at looking in the mirror and mirror driving. And what you have to do in these races, guys, is not only do you have to have a fast car, you have to be able to understand the runs that are coming so that you can make strategic moves to block other drivers' runs and thereby maintain your momentum at the front of the field. We got some guys who are absolute masters at that coming on the podcast today. We've got guys that have done it and won it on the podcast today. We're going to have a blast, man.
Marty,
You can't tell I'm excited, can you?
The best omen of this entire trip, I was writing something for Dogs HQ today in the hotel, and
what is Dogs HQ on?
on 3.
That'll be on 3.
That would be on 3. I turn on the TV. HBO's on. Guess what's on HBO?
Talladega Nights.
Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder is one of the greatest movies of all time.
And where are they racing in the scene where I turned it on?
I love it.
Right here.
It's meant to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, man, like Days of Thunder does not get its due.
It doesn't.
If you just look at the cast, okay?
All-star cast.
Robert Duvall, John C. Reilly, Nicole Kidman. I'm waiting on you.
TC.
Tom Cruise, the great Cole Trickle. It's just unbelievable how great that cast was. And as a racing nerd, as a guy who grew up loving NASCAR racing, going to Martinsville Speedway, it's one of my favorites. There's a couple movies that'll stop time for me. Tombstone and Days of Thunder are 2 of those. Hell or High Water, another one. I know a lot of our viewers and listeners are huge Yellowstone people. Taylor Sheridan, the director of Yellowstone, also directed Hell or High Water. It's a top 5 for me. You ever seen it?
Yeah, I mean, it's another underrated film, I feel like.
Travis is over here shaking his head like I'm crazy. Awful.
It's awful.
That's fighting words. Fat lip territory, son. You better watch your P's and Q's.
Yeah, Travis, you're going to have to defend that take a little bit later. My favorite part of Days of Thunder is the editing mistake. There's a scene where Duvall
Of course, that's your favorite part.
is you know what I'm about to say.
I know exactly what you're about to say.
He's wearing a Georgia hat,
Go Gators, go Dogs.
and then one scene he's wearing a Florida hat. They're sweet hats. I mean,
They were the game hats.
yeah.
They were the game hats.
It's like what Ray Goff would have been wearing,
They
or
were
Jim Donnan.
and they had the circular. It was actually embroidered, I think. It wasn't a patch. I think it was embroidered. Ours, as you can see, guys, we have our array of Outsider hats lined up here. You can go to shop.outsider.com and get yours right now. We have the big Outsider patch. We have American flag patch. We got the circular Outsider patch, and we got the side eye. That's what I call it. We got the side patch there. That's embroidered in there. You guys can go there, shop.outsider.com, and get them. But my favorite scene in Days of Thunder, well, there's so many of them. It's hard to describe. I mean,
Maybe that's
way,
not my favorite scene.
my
but-
way.
yeah.
Your way, my way. When Cole is burning the tires off of the car, and Harry Hogg says, "Listen, your way, my way. Slow down to go faster." And Cole was faster Harry's way. So, all right, we're waiting on Chase Elliott right now, guys, and as soon as he gets here, we're going to spend 15 or so minutes with him. I can't wait to spend time with the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series champion. His lineage in the sport is well known. His father, Bill, the 1988 NASCAR Winston Cup Series champion, $1 million Bill, awesome Bill from Dawsonville. Can't wait to chat with Chase. Can't wait to spend this whole day with you guys here on the Marty Smith podcast at Outsider at Daytona International Speedway. First up today here at Daytona International Speedway is my brother from another, the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series champion, Chase Elliott. Man, this is a rebirth. This is coming out of hibernation for the sport, and there's so much positive energy every year when we come here. And I was saying earlier, man, for me, even though I've done a lot of different things, it feels like coming home.
Yeah, it does.
You walk in here every year, like what's the first thing you think of?
Yeah, I mean, this weekend I feel like is always special, and I know it's the start of our season, but I feel like the Daytona 500 and just this week and all that it is just such an event of its own, and just the energy that's here is always exciting. I feel like there's been a lot of energy here this week that I haven't seen in the past 3 or 4 years, so I think that's exciting. There's a lot of people already here camping out. You notice those things and you can feel that, and this is just a great way to start our season, and this is this place is special. It always will be.
What's your earliest memory at Daytona?
Well, my earliest memories, I tell people this all the time, but they always had the nicest playground here, as a kid. So that was my.
We haven't been by the playground.
No,
yet.
the playground's killer. I mean, killer. So as a kid, when I was going around all the racetracks, you remember those things. So the playground always stood out here, and I didn't go to a ton of races when I was that little, but certainly the tracks I did go to, this was one of the ones you remember. Obviously, a big deal, and man, they did it up. I don't know who designed that thing over there, but they did a good job.
What was your go-to? Like, was it like the hobby horse thing?
I feel like I was more of a monkey bars
guy.
Okay.
Guy back in the day.
Which track had the worst playground, Chase?
My worst playground memory was at Atlanta because they had another killer playground, and it was actually a great place to go watch the race because I think at the time they had like a McDonald's sponsorship or whatever, so it was like this big McDonald's playground thing. Dad was a McDonald's guy there back in the day. Anyway, and it was kind of broke. You could kind of climb on the outside of this thing, but it was this big playhouse, but you could get on top of it, and it was a great place to watch the race. So like when the races would start, I'd always go over there and climb. When I got a little older, I'd go climb up the side of this thing and sit on top of the playground. You could see a lot of the racetrack. It was above most of the things in the infield, and they took it down. They completely just destroyed it there one year. I came back and I was devastated.
Oh my gosh, no warning at all.
Yeah, my seat was gone.
Lost my spot.
Yeah, bad day.
So this is the year of the peach, son.
Year of the dog.
This is the year
of the
of
dog.
the peach, man. We're going to run down every single bullet point on the year of the peach.
I think you should,
All
maybe
right?
twice.
So your boys with Freddie Freeman. Didn't you just blow up into one of his workouts?
Yes, I cruised in. I crashed one of his workouts. We were out in LA for the race the other day. So, what an amazing guy! I've never really spent a ton of time around him, but just a super humble individual. Just a guy who, like when you meet certain people, you get an idea of like whether or not you feel appreciated and they respect you, and if they're interested in what you do, if they want to have like actual conversation, or if you're just checking a box. And with Freddie, it was just such a genuine interaction. Felt like we really enjoyed each other's company and had fun and cut up. And obviously, I don't know him very well aside from that, but heck, you would have thought we were friends for a long time. So really gained a lot of respect for him, and really made me wish and hope that he's not leaving Atlanta even more.
Chase
now.
is doing the Lord's work for
So,
Braves fans, just getting in his ear a little bit.
I tried. I did my part. So we'll see.
Chase, I think that you may be responsible for this run because you win the Cup, then the Braves win the World Series, then the Dogs win the Natty. I mean, these are some great vibes that you have every right to take responsibility for right now.
I would love to take that title for sure. It's been a great run. I don't know if that caused it or sparked it or what, but whatever's been in the air has been great, and I hope we don't have to wait as long for the next Braves World Series or the next Dogs National Championship as we did this time. That's been a long time coming. So, yeah, man, I'd love to take credit. If so, I'll happily take that title.
I don't know if you saw the parade, but it looked like you were driving the bus, man. That thing was speeding through Atlanta. It looked like speed.
I heard about this, but I didn't see it. So I need to look that up.
I know a lot of people who are passionate, overzealous Georgia Bulldogs fans. You're on the list. Put us there. How did you watch the game? Where did you watch the game? Were you out of your mind watching the game? How did you celebrate? Were there many cold beers consumed?
No, there wasn't. And I feel like you're going to be disappointed in me, and a lot of people are going to be disappointed in this answer. But I unknowingly scheduled my Chili Bowl prelim night that night. I know.
Oh, man.
I know.
All right, it's been good.
Yeah, exactly. And I wouldn't blame you for leaving. I was upset about it too. So my mind was like, half at the Chili Bowl, but half watching the game. A couple of the guys on the team were big into it as well. Not like big Georgia fans, but really.
They probably had action on it.
Wanted to watch. Now that's
they
probably
had
true.
action on
So I'm literally sitting in the like in the staging area. I mean, I'm in the car, like strapped in. The guy's like showing me his phone, live on, whatever, YouTube TV, whatever it is. We're watching the game, while I'm in the chute, fixing to go run my heat race. So I was committed as much as I could be committed to watching the game. So be disappointed, but just know I did all I could do.
Nah, man.
These are the first championships of your lifetime.
I know.
Like, of your lifetime.
I know.
So what is that for you as somebody who lived the misery for so long?
It wasn't all
Are
miserable.
you the dog that caught the car now?
It wasn't all miserable. I mean, there were some high spots in there, and there was some heartbreak too. But man, it makes it so much fun when you're watching, sports that I love. That I would watch the World Series anyway. Whether the Braves are in it or not. I would watch the national championship, whether the Dogs are in it or not. But
You'd
man,
watch the national title to see me and McGee running around.
That's right. That's the only reason I tune in. But I think it's no different than having a driver in NASCAR. When you have somebody to pull for and you feel a connection to something, it just makes watching a sport just on a different level. And granted, you can't do anything to help them, but it is fun to be a part of, and it makes it really exciting to to witness, and especially when they go and make it run like they did. For me, the Dogs winning is not as surprising, I don't feel like, as the Braves World Series. I mean, I feel like Georgia's been in the hunt for the past 5 years, just hasn't gone their way. Aside from Alabama, I feel like they've been right there amongst anybody. But Atlanta doing what they did, I feel like really caught everybody off guard. And that was just fun to watch because no one expected that to happen. And, watching that game one, Morton goes down. I'm like, man, there's just no way. And they just keep scratching and clawing and get it done. So, yeah, really enjoyed that.
All right. I'm going to ask every driver this today. Talladega Nights or Days of Thunder?
Oh, neither.
Whoa!
Neither, in my opinion. I would go six-pack or stroke a race.
Old school.
If you want to really start talking about racing movies, let's talk about some original ones.
Anytime you can get Kenny Rogers,
absolutely.
And, Brewster Baker shows up. It's another day.
It is definitely another day. I've never been big on Talladega Nights. That's not fun.
Days
to
of
me.
Thunder's amazing, though.
Days of Thunder
amazing.
is a great movie.
So should I not ask about Talladega Nights the rest of the day?
No, you're welcome to.
Kurt Busch and Kyle Busch will be happy that you asked about
Yeah,
that.
no,
All right,
I'm sure they would. And I'm not taking anything away from Days of Thunder. I think it's a great film. And I think I watched there was a special done not too long ago here, a rain delay maybe last year. They started talking about just the history. I think you were on there about just how the logistics of it worked, how involved Hendrick Motorsports was, and Rick, and getting those cars done and built, and then filming down here and all that stuff.
Can you believe they actually put
you on TV?
Well, that part too. They put the movie race cars in the race.
In the race. I didn't know. I had no idea about any of that stuff. So I was really really enjoyed watching that. I mean, obviously I was bummed it was raining. You get bored, nothing else on, right? So was watching that, and I was mind blown and gained a lot of respect for that film and everything that went into it. But yeah, the fact that they had cars, they made them qualify though. They made them qualify on time. NASCAR made them qualify on time. But then they started the race and they had these 100-pound cameras in the cars while the race is going on. It was nuts.
Well, you got stuff to do. You got a car to go make real fast. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, man.
You are my boy, Blue. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Chase.
Like that hat too. I know who you're pulling for.
You know who I'm pulling for. That's right.
Yeah.
2012 NASCAR Cup Series champion is the man Brad Keselowski, and it's going to take me a minute to get used to saying Roush Fenway Keselowski. Is it just called RFK?
RFK is correct.
RFK, okay. Yep. I'm proud of you, man. It's a huge jump from being part of an absolute monster where you're a face of the monster, but you're not like negotiating all of the monster.
Sure.
So what has come that maybe you didn't expect from jumping into Cup Series ownership for the first time?
Oh, man. Well, I didn't expect to win so soon.
Congratulations, by the way.
We'll start there.
If you guys haven't seen, Brad won his dual qualifying race on Thursday night here at the Daytona International Speedway. Amazing run.
Thank you. And my teammate won the race right
He won
after
the
it.
next
So
one, yep.
did not see that coming. Talk about highs and lows. I think, not that I'm super surprised, but maybe I'm surprised about how high the high has been and how low the lows have been. You know, we went to L.A. for that exhibition race at the Coliseum, and both cars missed the race. You know, that's the golf equivalent to missing the cut. And then a week later, we both win. So, you know, like the lows are very low and the highs are very high, and that's a little surprising to me.
Yeah, nobody wants to go home ever. That's a
No.
racer's worst nightmare, but you'd rather go home there than go home here.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, right? But, hey, we made up for it yesterday.
Sure did, brother.
Yeah, how much did you learn from that? I mean, just having the opportunity to run it through the gamut out of the gate and then tune things up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm learning so much, and it's more than just the ownership side. There's a lot for me to learn on the ownership side. Most of what I'm learning is on the competition side, what this company needs, what the people that work here need to be successful, how they operate, how they communicate, and how to navigate that, right? Because every group of people, you know, they function differently, right? If you travel abroad, you go to different countries, they drive on different sides of the roads, they got their own traditions and things. Well, race teams are kind of the same way. You all do the same things, just a little differently, and you just want to know how to navigate that. So it's like moving to a foreign country, you know, trying to learn the language, trying to learn the customs, and then I can integrate and do my thing.
You've driven for a couple superstars, and Rick Hendrick when you first started for a short, brief moment, and then, of course, Roger Penske the rest of your Cup Series career. What from those two leaders specifically can you bring to this race team? What lessons, what philosophies?
Yep. Well, I mean, if you were, you know, if you drew a square and you said put 4 owners on the square, you would put all 4 of them in different spots, or all 3 of those in different spots, and probably Dale Jr. in a 4th spot.
No doubt, that's right.
You know, Rick Hendrick, just this, you know, super buttoned up guy, not in the technical weeds at all. You know, he believes in people and surrounding himself with great people and letting them do all the work and just supporting them. And then you have Jack Roush, who's kind of like the opposite end. You know, not really involved on the people side at all, loves all the technical aspects of it, and kind of brings this just grittiness that's hard to explain, the race car grittiness and know-how. And Roger Penske, super buttoned up, knows a little bit of the technical side, knows quite a bit of the people side, and he's probably in this spectrum. Then you got Dale Jr., who, you know, is more about the people side, not button-up side, but great with the partners and all those things. Knows a little on the technical side and the business side as well, so kind of well-rounded. So it's 4 completely different approaches. I mean, like you could not get more different. And each one of them has taught me something. You know, Dale Jr., I tell him, and I'll tell anybody this, Dale Jr. taught me how to have fun racing. The racing was never fun for me until I got to be around Dale Jr. You know, Marty, because when I raced with my family and all that stuff, it was like, you do this to eat, right? And then when I got to race with Dale Jr., I learned how you could have fun racing. And then I got to Rick Hendrick, and I got to see how to build this machine, how to keep it operating, because he's just such a great businessman. And then Roger Penske, who's all about polish and class, which is, you know, areas I had a lot to learn in. And now I'm with Jack, who's kind of bringing me up to more technical base. So I think all of them have brought something to me, and hopefully I've been able to take away from them.
What a pedigree.
I mean, you're just getting started, but do you see a space where ownership could be fun for you?
Oh, well, I'll tell you, it was a hell of a lot of fun last night. You know? Yeah,
When they're spraying champagne,
yeah,
it's a hell of a lot of
yeah,
fun.
if we win again, it's going to be a lot of fun, because winning as a driver is always going to be amazing. But winning as a driver and an owner, it's like, I did that. You know what I mean? And it wasn't just me; it's the whole team. But I led that, and I'm really proud of that. And to see Chris Buescher win, that felt just as good as me winning. I'll be honest with you.
So you were talking about racing to eat with your family business. It must have been extra special to have your father's number on your car last night above the driver's door. You lost him back during Christmas time. First of all, sorry for your loss.
Appreciate it.
Absolute legend in the sport. What's it like for you now to be in victory lane and not be able to make that phone call or have that embrace?
So, you know, my dad was a big Daytona guy. He loved Daytona. You know, he came down here as a kid with his dad, and Told all the Daytona stories. First time I ever got to go to a race was with him, was Daytona for the ARCA race here in 1990. It was my 6th birthday. Got out of kindergarten to go watch my dad run the ARCA race.
That's an excused absence.
That's actually, yeah. At that time it was. But we had a ton of fun, but he loved this track. And any success we had here would just make him so excited. And I know he would have really got a kick out of last night.
How did he react to what you've done in this sport? Because he scrapped, he clawed, he grinded, and his son's a champion at the top.
You know, my dad was super proud, but he would never let me see it.
Yeah, I believe it. That's
He was, you know what I mean? That's a dad thing, I guess.
That's what dads
Dad,
do.
man.
Yeah, like I would get a text that would be, good job. That was it. But then I'd hear from, some of my friends and family, like, your dad was so excited. You should have seen him during the race, and he was jumping up and down. You're like, well, damn, why didn't you film that?
Exactly. And why isn't he telling me that?
Yeah, oh, yeah. But that just wasn't my dad's style.
Mine
It's a dad thing, I guess.
It is, for sure.
Yeah.
Where do you feel like the nickname Bad Brad ranks in all of NASCAR? It's my number 1.
It's your number, really?
Yeah.
Bad Brad?
Yeah. I didn't even know what your last name was.
Really?
I'm just kidding.
Well, it's simplicity. It's
That's
a good
right.
thing. How it ranks in all of motorsports, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily feel like I'm a bad guy. I don't mind being a bad guy, and I don't care if people think that. I guess people tell you all the time that, or I've read this a few times, that you're the hero in your own story. In everybody's life, you're the hero in the story, right? And so I guess I don't think of myself as being the bad guy, but if other people do, whatever.
I always looked at it, and I'm not joking. I always looked at it as like bad as good, kind of bad.
Oh.
Like bad Brad, like he's bad. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, like bad to the bone.
Exactly.
Bad on the racetrack.
That's
Well,
right.
Well, I appreciate the compliment, Wes. Hopefully we're bad on Sunday.
There you go.
I think we got a great shot. It's a big race for us. Got really strong cars. I've been this close to winning this race, and it's slipped away on me like 3 times, and it hurts. Some of those were in my control, some of them weren't. Last year was the closest I'd been, making the pass for the lead on the last lap and wrecking. That one really, really, really stung. So hopefully we can get it all to come together this year.
So many guys we're chatting with today have that same story. Truex, Kyle Busch. You guys are there. You guys are there every single year. And then invariably something thwarts it. It's so damn hard to get that title before your name.
Marty, you know about Indianapolis and Indy 500 and some of the folklore. Some of the old racers talk about the Indy 500 is nobody wins the Indy 500. The track chooses a winner. And what that really means is you put yourself in position, and these big races like this, and for whatever reason that is, all these weird things happen at the end of these races. It just continuously is the story where you get towards the end and you say, oh, so-and-so has dominated the race and they don't win. Like Dale, blew the tire. What was that, like 1990?
1990, it was when you were here.
Yeah.
You might have gone home at that point. Derek
probably
Cope.
had already gone
Derek Cope wins the Daytona 500.
And you think of Dale, and all the years he was in position to win the 500. And Fluke hit a year, he hit a Seagull.
Yep.
It just all kinds of things happened. And no one more deserving than him to win this race, and it just would not happen. The track, in my eyes, it hadn't chosen. And it sounds, weird to say that. It sounds like some new world crap that, doesn't make sense. But man, once you live it, like it really does feel that way. Like I don't know what to do differently. I've watched the film after the races, and that was the right move. And 99 times out of 100, that works. This was the one.
Oh, no, I forget. 09 your first year?
Yep.
So 09, so this is 13th full season, or maybe 14th full season.
It's be my 13th because I was part-time in 09.
You said something to me many moons ago about, at that time, you felt like Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Right before that door came down.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
the sport shut the door on you.
I still feel that way.
Still feel that way. So it intrigues me because there's a couple guys who've come along since who weren't made of money, like Larson. Wasn't made of money people believed. Try to explain to people who might not be hardcore NASCAR people what it is to make it if you don't have a pocket full of money to bring to the garage.
It's incredibly difficult. It used to be if you were like a first-round draft pick, you could make it Cup. Now it's like you can't be a first-round draft pick. You got to be like the first pick. to have enough talent to rise above, because you want to be one of 40 out here.
Yep.
One of 40. That's a real small number, right? And, if you go back to the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and 90s of NASCAR, they would have turnover of about 4 or 5 drivers a year, mostly due to injury, sometimes even fatality. And so you had this natural churn in the sport. And what would inevitably happen is when there was a churn, the bottom would come up. And so if you were in a 20th place car and the 5th place car needed a driver, you got that ride. Not some rookie. The rookie would go into the 20th car. He'd go into the 30th place car. And he'd run for a year or two, and people would watch him and they go, all right, he can do this. And then he'd get that opportunity for the next churn, right? And that was how the sport worked really all the way from the early days till, let's say, the 2000s. And then in the 2000s, it became kind of that Jeff Gordon era of let's find somebody that's a first-round draft pick. Let's put him in a car and see what happens. And by the mid-2000s, like 2005, it even got to like second and third round draft pick, where you saw guys coming in the sport that you're like, maybe he'll make it, maybe he won't, but he's going to push somebody out who's probably a little better, but the teams are taking a chance. And as the pendulum swings, it swung right back the other way to where the door just basically closed. And if you weren't clearly the best guy out there, not in Cup at that moment, you don't get a ride. Like, it doesn't happen. Like, there's no churn, and, the injury rates went down and all these other things happened, and so the barrier of entry just got astronomically high. And it moved from talent to, capital, money.
That's it.
And that was a big shift for our sport. And it probably boxed out dozens of first-round picks that should be in the sport and art. I think of guys like Brian Clausen, tremendous race car driver, and God rest his soul. He tried to make it in Cup, could not get that level of ride, and never even really got to the Cup Series to prove himself. And then he went on and had a great career outside of it until, unfortunately he got killed in a race car accident. Not even at the Cup level, right? But that's a guy to me that's no doubt he would have made it in Cup in any other decade, right? And so it's a shame to see how that all played out. It'll swing back the other way, like all pendulums do. And I think we're going to see that happen over the next, 5 to 10 years. But for me, I feel so lucky that I got in, like, literally right as that door was closing. And, I've been very blessed.
All right.
Time for a couple more, real quick.
Talking movies. Brad, Talladega Nights or Days of Thunder?
Days of Thunder. Saw it when I was 5 years old. My dad took me to the movie theater. Tried to watch it with my daughter this winter. And then I realized my dad should have never taken me to that movie. There was a lot of non-PG moments.
That sugar packet scene.
In the sugar packet scene. And
When they pull over the hauler,
yeah.
and they do a little checkup.
Yep, checkup. But, Harry Hogg or whoever, is it Harry Hogg?
Harry Hogg.
Yeah,
Hogg.
He drops a few words that I definitely don't want my daughter repeating. So, but are true in spirit, I can tell you.
No doubt.
If you live down here in that garage, you're going to see a lot of those same stories and hear a lot of those same words. But Days of Thunder, for sure.
Last thing, what should we expect out here Sunday?
We're going to see a lot of crashes. A lot of crashes, huge attrition rate. You're looking at historical trends over the last 5 years of 75% attrition. I would suspect similar on Sunday.
Appreciate your time, brother, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Good to
hanging
see
out.
ya.
Brad Keselowski, 2012 NASCAR Cup Series champion. Kurt Busch is the 2004 NASCAR Cup Series champion. He won the first ever chase and the 2017 Daytona 500 champion. Welcome. Thank you so much for your time. First thing I want to know is a question I'm sure you've been asked, but I've never asked it. When you win the Daytona 500, and that all of a sudden you have a title that precedes you that way, what's the impact of that on your life and career for a driver?
Well, thank you for the introduction, and thanks for having me on. It's an incredible moment because it's a life-changing moment. And to have that title kind of bookended with my championship that I got early in my career, it felt like the whole cup was full, and now everything I do just is like the whipped cream and cherry on top. That's how big this race felt when I won it. And to do it in Monster's first race with the entitlement sponsorship that year, all the CEOs were there. There was like 40 Monster girls. Gronk was here, and we partied all the way till about 6:30. It's like, oh, we have media at 8. Those are those days and moments that you'll remember forever.
What was partying with Gronk like?
He bailed out about
He bailed out.
about 3:30 a.m. is when he bailed.
All right.
Yeah, no, it was great. Like he's a kid in a candy store and treats life that way. And the way that people were just talking about like their racing stories, all of us felt like we were 12 years old again when we won the race, and we're just telling war stories about NASCAR.
So good, bro. It's cool.
We were just speaking with Brad about how tough it is to win here, how strange things tend to happen at the end that separate you from victory lane. What does it take to overcome this track?
It's kind of like the Super Bowl that we saw in a lot of the playoff games recently in the NFL, where it's just that one score or that one moment or the one call that the ref said, and games are so close. In NASCAR, it's that same way, except thousandths of a second, inches on what can be a dream or a disaster. And that's what Daytona does. Talladega's been doing it for years. But the prestige and the history and the value of Daytona, this one it'll rip your heart out, or you'll feel like you're king of the world.
You have driven for a who's who. I mean, when you look at the teams that you've driven for, it's Roger Penske, it's Chip Ganassi, it's Tony Stewart, and now, Jack Roush, Michael Jordan. Okay, I got to break this. Like, he's my greatest childhood hero, okay? I've acted like a complete nerd in front of him because I fanboyed out.
Yeah, you fanboy, yeah,
full
geeked out.
fanboy. So how does this unfold? How do you end up in a situation where you team up with Bubba Wallace driving for Denny and Michael? And what's the transition been like?
Man, a couple of years ago at Ganassi, my contract was up. I thought it was the end, and literally did a video of me driving off in the sunset with a NASCAR car on the bridges to Key West. I actually got to go 200 miles an hour on 7 Mile Bridge. It was incredible. And Denny, he sends me a text. He goes, "You ain't done." It was almost like the Wolf of Wall Street. Like, I'm not leaving. You're not leaving. He says, I got
Show
something.
goes on.
I got something for you. And then it was Dave Wilson from Toyota. And Monster Energy says, man, if that MJ thing materializes, let's go do it. And so the phone just kept ringing. All the signs pointed towards doing this, and it's the right project for me to do at this point in my career. And so geeking out with MJ and fanboy moment, I actually had one the other day when I saw him here in Daytona. I bought one of his old rookie cards, and I made a deal with him. I said, can you sign this? You keep it, but when we win together, I get it back.
Awesome.
That's pretty good.
So I got his rookie card on the line.
Those aren't cheap, Kurt. Just in case you wonder.
And I ain't going to tell you my source. I ain't going to tell you how much I paid.
About as much as one of your cars.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, those are expensive too.
I feel like you and MJ can relate on coming out of retirement. That's something that you guys can trade notes on, and it's pretty special.
It is in a small way. It's knowing that you still have that heart and that soul to push, and that's what he pointed at me and pointed at himself. He goes, I know you have it. I don't have to question that. Help me build this team up and make it a championship runner. And I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. This is what I want to do. And it's that point in my career where I still find little things to find victories in, but ultimately it's about the checkered flag.
How? So you were ready to just be done? You
Yes
were
and-
done.
Yes and no.
Listen. as obviously as you know, you lived it. I wrote a piece once many moons ago called "Athletes Die Twice," because if you're a world champion athlete, your identity, whether you want it to be or not, is in that race car, right? And that's been your purpose since you were 4, 5, 6, whatever age that was. And so when that's over, a very significant piece of your soul is gone. Your purpose is changed and challenged. So if you got to that place, that's a very interesting. What was the interim like when you made the decision, okay, I've done everything I can do in this car, I'm good?
It was a couple of years back, Ganassi, and it was the last year of my contract. I qualified for the 500, and I sat over across the street at a restaurant, and I just sat and stared at the grandstands. And I was talking to him like, am I done? Am I done? No, you're coming back. And I called a friend. I called Mark Martin. I said, Mark, why did you keep coming back? What was your fire? What was your desire? What was your reasoning? And he said, Kurt, I'm a racer just like you, and the phone kept ringing. That's why I came back. So Mark Martin helped push me back in, and Mark's a guy I always looked up to and raced with at Roush, and all the signs were pointing towards let's go. So we're going. We got 2 years on this gig.
I love it, man.
And I'm challenging myself with the next gen car. I wanted to drive this thing. I didn't want to not drive it.
So what are the big differences in it?
Whew. How long's the show?
Everything?
How
Yeah.
long's the show? Yeah. It's fun to drive and being so different that with the sequential gearbox, the bigger brakes, the suspension being independent in the rear. I've never driven a car on an oval with independent rear suspension. When we get to road courses later, these cars are going to be like 2 seconds quicker because of their speed and agility on switching back left and right. But then the aero package is somewhat numbed up, and that's why we're a little slower right now at Daytona, and that's why the draft is a little different, just because of the aero package.
What blew you away the first time you got to drive one of these things?
It was at the Roval test in Charlotte, and it was the brakes. Like, our braking marker on a back straightaway chicane was at the 700 yards to the corner. You can take this thing to almost 400.
Wow.
Whoa.
Like, the braking distance just is going to be phenomenal when we really get that science
Put
out.
that thing to the limit, man.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, and then the acceleration, it was about the same. It just depends on what horsepower we end up running, but it was the brakes.
So this is your guy for Days of Thunder. This is your guy for
All right,
Talladega
yeah, I've been
Nights.
asking every driver. Talladega Nights or Days of Thunder?
Days of Thunder is the OG for me, but Talladega Nights was an awesome self-deprecating humor movie.
He drove a Talladega Nights car at Talladega.
Yeah, I did Wonder Bread and the Me
Awesome.
car, yeah.
The me car
Yeah.
is the best. That's my favorite.
That
That still shot of Will Ferrell and the Cougar riding shotgun just sums up so much about that movie in one frame. It's fantastic.
You know, NASCAR let me run a stuffed cougar in that car.
I never knew that.
With the paint scheme. I had a
No way.
I had a stuffed cougar in there. They're like, if you catch on fire, it ain't our problem. Yeah, no, there was a cougar in there, man. That was when I was in some weird state of mind, dating a really crazy girl, and I needed that cougar to get me
It
straight.
happens to the best of us, bro.
It'll happen. It'll
so,
happen.
so Kurt drove the me car with a stuffed cougar right beside him for 500 miles, and he went full Harry Hog. Now, Harry talked to the chassis. Harry told the chassis how he was going to build the chassis. Kurt talked to the grandstand.
And the grandstands talk back.
If you call me, I will come back.
They wanted me here. I'm here.
That,
I'm
I think
thrilled
you
you're
found
here.
the name of your book too earlier in the interview. You said dreams or disasters, man. I don't think Marty could have written that.
Right?
That's
And then
smooth as
throw
hell.
in D for Daytona, yeah. Danger.
I'm intrigued by this driver council deal.
Yeah.
What's the mission?
The mission is to create a voice for the drivers that is aligned with the owners, with NASCAR, the tracks. You know, there's a group of tracks owned by NASCAR, there's a group of tracks owned by Bruton Smith, Marcus Smith, SMI, and working on all categories to put together a better show, a better production, better competition. That's our number one goal now. Obviously, TV contracts coming up. The manufacturers, can we get another one in here? That's important. It's about building the pot up so that everybody is benefiting.
It's been so long. I mean, it's been however many years, and we've heard about it forever. Driver union, driver this, driver arrangement. How did the decision to coordinate, we'll call it this way, unfold? Whose idea was? I know Jeff Burton's heavily involved with overseeing it in a way. Denny? Denny's always been kind of that catalyst guy that gets y'all on the text string and says we need to band together.
Yeah, I was on vacation. I was in the Bahamas, and Jeff Burton said, hey, man, give me a call. I just need 10 minutes of your time. And when I hung up the phone, it was 2 hours.
Wow.
And we started just rambling on about what we could work on, what strategy we should approach things with. Denny is on the board as an owner driver. Kyle Petty is on the board as a former driver, but has worked heavily with charities and the charitable aspect, because we're registered right now as a volunteer group, and it's a nonprofit. That's how we're starting things, and you still have to have all the protocol. Austin Dillon's on there, Joey Logano, they're in the competition safety category. Daniel Suarez, obviously he's got great connections globally, and can help with a lot of the diversity programs and understanding how he was raised and the things that he's been through in his life and how we can connect with other demographics. Corey LaJoie, he's in there helping all the guys at the lower level. We're going to try to create a minimum here, and everybody's involved for good reasons all the way around, and we have a volunteer lawyer group, volunteer assistant, and we're getting things started.
That's so good. It's necessary. It's time. It'll benefit the sport dramatically because y'all's voice should be among the strongest, if not the strongest. And so to have a coordinated vision is really smart.
Yep, and I feel like we're a perfect group of guys and girls and young and old and all the experience level. It's motivating. Right now in our meetings, our first big plan was to put a big fundraiser together and go big.
Appreciate you, brother. We got to let you run. I know you got other stuff.
Okay. Good to see you,
Grateful
Wes.
for you, brother.
Yep.
Appreciate you. NASCAR President Steve Phelps joins us now on the Marty Smith podcast here at Daytona International Speedway. And under his watch, the sport has really done a great job of evolving. And I want to start with evolution because it's really difficult, especially in today's world, to grow, evolve, expand while also staying rooted. And you, Steve O'Donnell, Ben Kennedy have tried so hard. You have made it a concerted effort to find that balance. What's the balance?
So I think for us, the good news is I hear from a lot of people, hey, you're catering to a new fan and you're forgetting your old fan. That's not true. Our loyal, avid fans who have been with us for decades, we want to make sure we serve that fan the way they want to be served. And the first way to do that is go to places on your schedule where you haven't been before, so schedule variation. The second is have an amazing new car, right? This thing it's badass,
Looks
right?
badass, man. Yep.
It's a sexy showroom car is what it is. And we do it that way, and then we serve the fan wherever they are, right, with content they want to see. And that's that's important for us to make sure that we're doing that because we actually need to serve both. And until we get to a place where fans tell us they don't want schedule variation, they don't want to go to short tracks, they don't want to go road course, we can pivot, right? And because we're here to serve them. That's our entire job.
What's your relationship with that next gen ride been like? Have you been inside it? Have you gotten to feel everything it has?
I don't go into the car. That's probably best. I don't, I haven't had a ride along at this particular point because we don't have enough to have a ride along, but because we need all the cars we can get. Listen, the car is phenomenal, right? I mean, the sound of the car, the look of the car.
It just looks great. And I was super skeptical, Steve. I'll tell you, I'm old. And so I'm like, I don't know
I'm
about
not sure
this.
what that makes me, but that's okay.
I don't know what like this, where the number positioning. I don't know if I like it. I don't know, sponsor down the side. Like, I'm an old man. But watching the clash and the track level television shots, I thought it looked awesome.
Yeah.
I was instantly shifted from skeptical to believer immediately during the clash. I thought it looked so good.
Listen, our research has shown early on that the fans have adopted this car early and often, which is great. Listen, you get some people who are, hey, it's kind of like the Coliseum itself, right? That's not going to work. Why are they doing that? This is stupid. And then a lot of people that I saw out there, including some drivers, like, okay, I was wrong about this. You guys were right. This is awesome. Right? Same thing's happening with this car, right? And I think the cool thing for us with the car, because, last June there were some safety concerns that the drivers had, so we addressed that. There was heat in the car. We addressed that. There was some steering issues. We addressed that. And then collaboratively with our teams, our OEMs and our drivers, we came up with the right package, right? The 670 horsepower package. That is going to be a massive win for the sport. The drivers themselves are enthusiastic about it. Like, listen, we talked to them about not being negative, right? You guys are aware of this, right? Everyone
Very
knows
aware.
That. But with that said, we don't have to do that with this car, right? Because they picked it. They're in it, right? And everyone's enthusiastic about it, right? And that's the key thing for us.
That is it's amazing if you think about the car of tomorrow. A couple of iterations of the race car ago, it was the complete opposite.
Well, I think, let's just start with this. Do you know how many tests we had for the car of tomorrow?
No.
We had one. One test in January
I would have
before the
guessed
car
a
would
lot
debut
more.
in March. So when we got to the test number 2 on this next-gen car, and then 3, I mean, dozens of tests, right? All meant to get feedback from the drivers. And I think the way we did it, and I give, Steve O'Donnell, John Probst, those guys, massive credit, right? But they got us to a point, and then it was really the drivers and the teams that then got it over the line, frankly. And that's when our industry does these things the best, is when they come together.
You got the new ride coming off the Clash. We've spoken about a different type of energy here. It's my first time. But for you, what has this so far weekend felt like?
Yeah, for us, this is always a phenomenal, it's always special.
Feels like coming home.
It does. I mean, it's just amazing. Come through the tunnel. Listen, I work across the street, so I can still say I want to go through the tunnel, but that's all right. But there is a different energy level here. There's always energy here. I mean, there's so many positive things that are happening in the sport, and this is a sport that feels good about itself. We're a sport, frankly, when things are really hard, we come together, right? We do. So COVID, shut down, industry came together, and we solved for it, we fixed it, first sport back to competing, right? The car itself, some issues around it, comes together and we fix it. The Coliseum, great energy coming out of it. So last year, Tuesday before the Daytona 500, ran the Clash in the road course. I thought it was good, right? Some good racing. Having the Coliseum deal and 6 hours on Big Fox, it makes a big difference for us. So the pre-promotion for the Daytona 500 is something unique and special. That's what's causing the energy level to go up. And it's palpable. Everyone in this industry feels it right now. So, and it really starts with the fans. I mean, this place is general admission. We were sold out mid-January, earliest we've ever done that in 50 years. 50 years. And then we can't get another human in this place, right? Standing room only's gone, camping's all gone, everything's gone.
All of it.
Suites, they're all gone. And that's awesome. I think it speaks volume to where the sport is right now.
So for people watching or listening who may not understand your pedigree and your background, you brought knowledge to NASCAR from other major sports, including the National Football League. NASCAR is a very different animal. What was the transition process for you coming from the National Football League into this?
That's a good question. I will give you a truthful answer. So I think, because I was lying to you about everything I just said before, it was actually a really easy transition for me. I'll tell you a quick story. So I started in August 1st of 2005, and I went to a Kansas race that fall, and I was sitting in the garage by myself, no one else in the garage, and I was by we have a kitchen hauler, right, that has a picnic tables there. We're just sitting down by myself having a cup of coffee. There's a guy that's, 80, 100 yards away, doesn't know me. I just started in the sport, right? Comes over and beelines toward me. I'm like, uh-oh, am I in trouble? And he said, hey, I just want to say good morning. How you doing? I was Richard Childress.
Wow.
He didn't know me. My point is this sport's about family, right? This is a community that I joined, and it's a special thing. So if you're not part of it, if you don't know NASCAR, come give it a try, because these are a community, right? These people have a love of racing. They have a love of NASCAR. And so the NFL is a great, unbelievable company in sport. They are, right? Huge, massive avid fans, just like NASCAR, a huge fan base. But it's a lot more corporate than it is here, right? This is more, what I say to my employees, every single employee at our place can make a difference, right? I think a lot of people in the NFL, frankly, that probably don't feel that way, right? Here you can make a difference. Every single person makes a difference in the success and the growth of this sport.
It's been remarkable to watch. I've been around for a long time too, and to see it at its absolute trajectory like this around that time when you came in, that 04, 05, 06 minute was top of the world. Crazy television ratings, track expansion, schedule expansion, expansion and growth of advertising dollars and network television. and the whole thing. Again, it goes back to that very finite balance between let's maximize the moment, but let's try not to change our authenticity. It's so hard to do. And I am grateful as a fan of this sport and somebody who's lived it for a long time that you, Steve O'Donnell, Ben, that group of people that is under your stead it was a decision to go, we got to go back. We got to make sure that we're collaborative in every avenue.
It makes a difference, right? Because
Huge difference.
When you're not, so for me, the most gratifying point is, if you're to be completely honest, you talked about going like this, right, in the early 2000s, and we were, right?
No doubt.
And then got to 2009, and from 2009 to 2018, it was just kind of a slow, steady ratchet down, frankly, of the popularity of the sport.
Yep.
Lots of different reasons, which we won't get into now. But since 2019, we are going back the other way. And the trajectory of the sport today, 2019, 2020, 2021, and now into 22, we're going the other way, right? While other sports, frankly, a lot of them are struggling. TV ratings, attendance, we're going to be up significantly in our TV ratings this year. We're going to.
Oh yeah, no question.
The goal here is every single facility we go to will have consumer numbers that will be better than last year, which almost all of them, with the exception of maybe 2 races, were better than they were in the equivalent in 2020 or 2019. And that's what we need. That's what we do. And the industry coming together allows us to do that.
Was there a specific line of demarcation in 2019?
I think we did in 2019, Marty, is we got a whole lot better at really connecting or engaging our existing fans.
Yeah.
You can only do that for so long because, it was a fan base that was, primarily white and aging, more male than female. But the decisions that we made in 2020, the banning of the Confederate flag, the stance on social justice, and then the DE&I things that we did from there, and being the first sport back, and the first sport back with fans, and then the other thing, schedule variation in 2021, and now this new car. So it's just, there's a wave of positivity that's happening in the sport. So 18 was tough, right? So a lot of the same people were here doing some of the same things, but there's been a significant change, and you can feel it.
I've asked everyone in this chair today one question. Talladega Nights or Days of Thunder?
I'm going Days of Thunder. I think, listen, Talladega Nights, there are some funny lines in there. We could go at it right now. But I think that how the sport was portrayed in Days of Thunder, right? So, it's Top Gun for stock cars, right?
Yep.
Was fantastic. It just, we've got some things that are on the horizon for a movie standpoint, which we can't get into now, but we're going to have some other cool things that are becoming, which is good.
So, that's what I wanted to – I've seen you speak about F1 recently, and obviously they have a very successful documentary series that is tremendous. It's well done.
So good.
What do you think, hypothetically, production like that could do for your drivers, your teams?
Well, listen, I think it's really important. So on the 23rd of February, Netflix is going to put the Bubba Wallace Docu-Series out, which I think is going to be really great for Bubba. And it's going to be great for the sport. I think it's going to be an honest portrayal of where the sport is today. A broader series, which we actually started we've already started shooting. Well, I don't, because I wouldn't know what to do. But I think it's going to be great for our sport. Because we've got, as Marty's knee deep in it. We got great athletes with great personalities that have some unbelievable stories. And then you put them on a short track or put them here and they get angry with each other, and that makes for some great drama, both on the track and off.
What's the most difficult decision you've had to make in that role?
As president of NASCAR? I think the most difficult decision was banning the Confederate flag. I think for some people, they're like, well, you're just turning your back on your roots. That's what you're doing. Which is not a true statement, right? Because most of the fans here, Marty, you've been here. Were there some Confederate flag? There were, right? And when you saw the Confederate flags, it said, to some people, I'm not welcome here, right? So we needed to make a determination whether we are going to appeal to a much larger fan base or not, right? And so the decision was made, and got my senior team together, and then they all said, we think this is the right thing to do for our sport at this moment in time. And then got, Lisa Kennedy and Jim France are our owners, and then called Marcus Smith and the other track folks where we race and say, this is something that's important for our sport, and we're going to ban this flag, and we're going to do it. It's going to sound ridiculous, but we did it in a day, right? The decision was made, we implemented, made a decision, and put out, a release and a statement that same day. That's how quickly it went. Now, there were lots of discussions for a long time. And that was important, right? So discussions with Bubba and discussions with others that had an opinion about the Confederate flag. But I think that was probably the hardest decision. But it was the right decision, and we've seen the fruits of the labor already of that decision. I knew it was going to be good for our business. I didn't think it was going to be good for our business that quickly. I mean, it was literally a sea change that happened in the sport, where people, younger people of color said, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot. I didn't think this sport was for me, but I was wrong. And I've heard that again and again and again. That part's gratifying, but yeah, it's probably the single toughest.
I mean, you speak about the instant feedback you get. Obviously, part of that is from social media, from your audience, from your drivers. What's been the toughest thing you've had to learn about where media is today, about how fans can engage with this product?
I think, listen, social's tough, particularly certain
like you're not making
channels
TikToks.
No, I mean, well, we do have people, I don't. So, and I haven't been on Twitter in probably 2 years, because most of the time I go in there, people tell me how stupid I am. But
really smart move.
It's
really
brilliant.
smart move.
There's some nice haters. So you talked about moving the number. Had this, O'Donnell sent this to me. It was to him and to myself, and for some reason, Joey Logano. And it said, for moving the number, F you. But I'm like, we moved the number.
Yep.
I mean, and that's how passionate our fans are.
Yeah.
But I think, listen, social media has a place for sure. How we check in with our fans is much different to really get a sense for where they are. So social is super important, with the different pieces. Like, so TikTok, obviously, to younger folks, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, those are all important elements, and we'll continue to do that. But really what we do is get some fan feedback around, we got a fan council of 10,000 fans. Most of them are avids by design, so we can hear what they like, right? And then when we'll interview fans here, something we call our GEM survey, to make sure that we take the pulse of how things are going, with our fans, what they like, what they don't like, how we can improve. But the fan feedback is critical to the decision making that we do.
All right, we'll get you out of here on this. We've kept you for 100 years here. As I look out to the horizon for the sport, not only from a professional perspective, but from a fan perspective, you're right. The trajectory is very good. What's coming that we don't expect? In your dream as the president of NASCAR, I know sports betting is going to have a massive impact on this sport, but what are the things that are coming that maybe I don't see?
So I think the tough thing about answering that question, Marty, is in some cases we just don't know.
Right.
But it's an overarching philosophy we have as a sport right now, and I mean everyone in this sport, is that we are going to make bold and innovative decisions that will help make this sport grow, to engage our fans in a more meaningful way. So we'll continue with schedule variation. We'll consider, different power plants in the car, zero emission fuel potentially, sports betting, which we're already doing in a big way. We're just going to continue to push the envelope, and if we do that, we're going to keep growing. It's going to require significant investment, right? And that's what we're willing to do. We're going to invest in the sport. We're going to invest in our fans to make sure that what they have here is something that's special and unique when they come to a race.
Kurt Busch was telling us just a minute ago that the driver council might be pushing for a new OEM.
Well, we are certainly in discussions with some different manufacturers at this particular.
I love to hear it. That's great.
So we're good. We're making some progress there. It'll be nothing to announce today, but we're excited about it.
Thank you, brother. Love your insight. Appreciate
you,
your
buddy.
time. I know this is such a busy week for you.
It's all good.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, fellas.
Kyle Busch is a two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion. He's won more races than anybody that's ever breathed.
I wish.
But there's one that this young man doesn't have on his resume, and I'm sure he hasn't talked about that once this week.
Yeah.
How does that hang over you, man? The Daytona 5. It's you're a Hall of Famer. Everybody knows that. First ballot. You're
Right.
first ballot Hall of Famer. Where does that live in your world?
I mean, it's frustrating to not have won this race before, but also, you come to understand that this race isn't won by 100% skill. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost 98% luck and 2% chance.
You seem disgusted.
So it is what it is, I mean, last year for years we've seen guys be leading into turn 3 and get crashed from the third place guy, and then the fourth place guy wins the race, So it's just a matter of whatever it is, being at the right place at the right time. I mean, certainly there are ways to win this one. We have not found that way to win this one, but I wouldn't say that there's an exact script of what to do to win this one.
I mean, not just you necessarily, but in your career as a fan, what's the weirdest thing you've seen separate someone from taking checkers here and not winning it at all?
He's had a couple.
Yeah, I've had a couple, but you look at the Earnhardt story, right? I mean, how many years did he come down here and flat tire into 3, engine failure blowing up, something else happened, flip down the back stretch, with 3 to go, 5 to go, whatever it was. So, and then finally 1998, it all kind of came through and he was able to score the win, But there's just so many ways of losing it, right? That it's paramount. But by the time when you do get it, it's going to mean all that much more. So would love to be able to do that, obviously, and score that win, and being able to check that last box in my career of being able to achieve all there is to achieve.
You have done it all. I wonder, you got 10 or 15 years left, whatever you decide. It's going to be a you decision, right? As you've looked back at it and tried to reminisce while living it in the moment, what is the pinnacle that stands out? Like, what is the top? Is it those championships, or is there something? I don't know.
I would say the championship, sure. Those are the highs. Winning Bristol triples, those were really cool. Yep. Nobody's ever done that. That's something that no one's ever done, right? The other thing I think too is it kind of flies under the radar, but when I won the Coca-Cola 600 back in 2018, I think it was, that was the final check mark of being able to win a race at every active track that I had raced at. And
dude, that's stupid.
And no one else has been able to do that. And there's an asterisk next to that, obviously, because the schedule hadn't changed a whole lot over the course of the 8 years, 9 years, or whatever it was. But I was able to get that in that time. So that, to me, is one that kind of I feel like flies under the radar.
It definitely does. I wouldn't have that's not kind of in here.
Yeah.
So I knew I was going to do. I knew the championships mattered. Obviously, that's the reason for doing it. But I knew with you there would be something I wasn't prepared for.
Your brother said it was partying with Gronk, so I'm wondering if you have.
He wasn't. I bet he was on an airplane home after that.
Oh, no, that was
when he won the 500.
That was a different night.
No, I partied with Gronk on a different night. Yeah.
Describe it.
Who hasn't Gronk partied with?
That's true, but Super Bowl championship night, after they won the last one as a Patriot, I was there for that one, and we were at the Patriots party, so that was pretty fun.
And?
Nothing really cool happened. It was just partying with Gronk. We were just BSing and stuff like that, having a good old time.
Both of you guys have I guess it was a previous relationship with what it might now be a competitor.
Yes, that's correct.
Is that the right way to? The right verbiage of how to say that?
Yeah, you hit it. You know how to do it.
I want to know what. So, for those of you watching or listening who may not know, Kyle's son is like hard neck deep into racing. I mean, he is in it. They are doing it. What have you learned or been reminded of about the fundamental passion of why you do it by watching and teaching him?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing is just, when we first started this, we just went to the racetrack, be with his friends, make circles, whatever. He'd go 3 laps down in an 8-lap heat race. It was definitely not the competition aspect of what it's now turned into. But being in it for a year and a half that he's been in it, he's obviously really taken to it. Now he gets out of the car. He asks me questions about, hey, where's my video? Let's watch the video. What could I have done differently? I lost the race on the restart. Help me, figure out what I needed to change and do better. Like, he's asking all those questions. So it's really changed a lot, and his dynamic of what he's doing out there right now on the racetrack. So it's really fun. And being his driver coach has kind of allowed me to see it from a different perspective that now allows me to kind of be my own driver coach.
How?
Just because, so beforehand, you're just doing everything in the moment and you're just driving around. You don't ever necessarily think of it as like the bird's eye view or the spotter's view of what you're doing, and being like, okay, hey man, there's other guys trying the outside line, or hey, go in higher, come out lower, or just looking at different stuff, trying different things. Last night, for instance, we were trying to make up lap time being separated from the group, and so I was dragging brake actually to get connected with my teammate Christopher Bell to have him push me to gain more speed down the straightaways. And so that was something that I told myself, that if I was watching Brexton doing it, like, hey man, you need to try this, you need to do this, like, get connected with your teammate, have him push you, be faster. So like all that stuff now is, it's in my head where I'm now being my own driver coach. I can't wait for the day I get to fire that guy.
Does he have a temper? Has he got a little bit of dad in him?
He basically like, yeah, a little bit.
Mom's a lot more composed than dad, so who knows?
Well,
he might have.
Not all the time.
She's
Not
pretty
all the time.
competitive too.
She
You're
is,
right.
She is competitive. The better he's been doing, the more competitive she's been getting too, because she'll see him go in a heat race and just kind of like flounder around and not really try very hard and not finish good, and she'll get his ass after the race. So it's pretty funny.
Just as a dad, what's your dynamic like with him? It sounds like he comes to you with a lot of questions, which is the best you can ask for if he's trying to learn. But what's how do you motivate him?
I mean, motivation is, I think it should be self-done, right? Like, you want to go out there and win the race. If you're not winning the race, you're trying to figure out why you're not winning the race. So him asking those questions is really good, to be more motivating to me to help him to get to that point. But as far as being the dad, like, I'll go to him and I'll give him a hard time, but I'll also pump him up and teach him and tell him like things that he's doing well, doing good. And then when it boils down to the end is just, him being able to come back to me. I feel like that's the biggest thing right now, is he doesn't despise me or hate me for like wanting to instill better into him. And so when he gets out of the car, it's not like he wants to avoid dad, because he's going to get yelled at. He actually comes up and wants to go through stuff. So that's really good. I remember I didn't start as young as he started. So I was like 13, 14 when I started. And when I got to being about 16, 17, I was like, okay, my dad's an idiot. He's not very smart. Like, you get that real rebellious stage. So we haven't gotten to that point yet where dad doesn't know it all.
You don't know shit.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I actually know a lot, and I keep my worth by. We just went to the go-kart track down here in Orlando yesterday, and I let him go his first run and let him learn the track and do the things that he wanted to do. He ran like a 30-80. And then I showed him the track, I taught him the lines, I said, do this, do this, do this, and he went back out there the next time and he ran a 30 flat. So he picked up 0.8 of a second. So I was like, okay, I'm keeping my worth right now because he's going faster.
Yeah, look, we got to let you go. I know you got a lot of stuff to do, but I want to share this with people who may not know a whole lot about your story. I want you to share about what you and Sam have done for other families who have struggled to have children, because it's a dramatic movement. And I want to know what these families are saying to you about hope, because y'all are giving a lot of people hope.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So Samantha and I, to have our son Brexton, who we've just talked a lot about, had to go through IVF. We weren't able to conceive naturally due to women factor, male factor. So going through IVF and learning all the things that it takes to be able to have a child and all the science behind it, we actually started the Bundle of Joy Foundation Fund, the Bundle of Joy Fund. People can go to bundleofjoy.org to check that out. But what we do is we raise money, raise awareness, all that sort of stuff, and we fund other people to be able to go through the IVF journey, because IVF's expensive. It's $25,000 just to go through a round, and that does not guarantee you your own bundle of joy at the end of the day. So some couples go through it 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So we're on our 7th try right now for our baby girl. Brexton was, knock on wood, he was our first try. He was our first miracle. So we've blessed over 50 families. We've got over 50 babies born.
Awesome.
We've donated over $1 million, and we're going to keep this going. As Brexton being the godfather of it all, you know, he's enjoying it too. We have family play days and all that where all the younger kids kind of look up to him.
Oh,
so
that's
it's
cool.
What's the perspective that gives you about, because we've known each other a really long time.
Yeah.
I know how intense you are about excellence, but when you're dealing with real life, that's different perspective.
Right.
How has that kind of sort of changed your overall perspective?
It's changed your perspective because it just kind of tells you how fragile things are, right? How fragile life is. But, you know, talk about the hope aspect of it as well, too, where you're giving these families hope. And, you know, we give out grants typically around December 1st for Christmas season, and then we also do it around May time, which is Brexton's birthday. And so being able to do that, you know, you give people this hope and this something to really look forward to over the holiday season. And then many of them, you know, knock on wood, get pregnant and go on and have a birth. And many of them, it doesn't work still, you know, so they have to retry or go through or find different ways to cope with it. But it's a mental journey as much as it is a physical journey.
Rapid fire. There's no good transition out of that.
There is no good transition.
I've been asking this question to everybody. Talladega Nights or Days of Thunder?
Days of Thunder.
He'll recite the whole movie right here.
Perfect.
He knows
yeah.
every line.
Yeah. In case you don't know it, Rowdy Burns about one of my favorite characters. So
I could tell.
yeah, he's my boy.
All right, we'll get you out of here on this. What should we expect on Sunday afternoon in the Daytona 500?
I don't know, man. I'd like to say that the number 18 M&M's Camry is going to be the one to beat, but there's a lot of good cars down here, a lot of good drivers, and like I said earlier, you know, it's a crapshoot. It comes down to where you're at and what you're doing towards the end of the race. So keep yourself in position to have that chance at the end to be able to go out there and make a move and get a win. So that's what we got to do. That's what we're going to be striving for, and looking forward to the 500 miles on Sunday.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you for your time and
Yeah, right on.
insight. And just real quick, a couple years ago, the great Kyle Busch could not participate in his fantasy football draft. So Kyle Busch called me and asked me if I would draft his team for him. I did that. I drafted Matthew Stafford over Andrew Luck, and I took such a ration of shit for this.
From the whole league.
From everybody involved.
Yeah.
And as a result, I asked Matthew Stafford to sign a helmet, which I presented to Kyle, and I just wondered if you knew who won the Super Bowl this year.
I do know who won the Super Bowl
Doesn't help
this
him
year.
out in his fantasy league.
If I had Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp in my fantasy league this year,
Book
I
it.
might have won that thing.
Book it,
I might
bro.
have won that thing. Who would have ever thunk it? But yeah, game time right there. I think Matthew went like third or fourth best that year.
Yes,
that
he
we did
hooped,
that.
man. He balled
Right.
out.
Yeah, he did.
And
I
I
wouldn't say
told-
the Lions were very good, but he
Oh,
was
no.
able to ball out for my team.
That's the thing about fantasy.
I
The
know.
team doesn't have to be
I
good.
know.
The guy has to be good.
That's right. Yeah. So Stafford's used to carrying it on his back. Apparently,
Appreciate you.
All
Thank
right,
you,
right on.
brother.
Thank you,
Kyle
Kyle.
Busch, ladies and gentlemen. Martin Truex Jr. is a NASCAR champion, but there was a moment a few years ago when he came up about
About that much.
about a foot short of hanging that Daytona 500 champion placard in his trophy room too. I just want to talk first about the vibe. Man, it feels awesome down here. It feels energetic. The people are on fire, ready to see you and the boys get at it. What is the Daytona 500?
Yeah, I mean, it's to your point, it's felt amazing here this week. I think just so many people here that, you know, Sunday sold out. It's going to be an amazing crowd, and just feeling that energy is awesome. But that's what really this race is all about. It's kicking off our season. It's crazy to start start our season with the biggest race of the year, the first one. It's always been kind of odd to me, but you know, Daytona is where this sport was born. This is the center of, you know, our world. This is the biggest race of the year, and just the excitement that we're feeling this week is incredible. I feel like it's been, you know, two years or so since we felt that, and you know, things getting back to where they're supposed to be is awesome.
Agree.
What's your favorite story about this place? Whether it involves you or not, just the lore, the mystique about it.
You know, honestly, I was a big Earnhardt fan growing up, and just watching him dominate this racetrack and could not win the Daytona 500. So growing up, just watching year after year of the heartbreaks, you know, he hits a bird on the back straightaway, gets a flat tire in the last lap, you know, you name it, to finally see him win. That whole story was like my favorite thing about it.
This stat blew my mind, and you may know it, but I was floored. Since 2015, no Cup Series driver has led more laps than that man right there. All right. Only Kevin Harvick has won more races. Did you know that stat?
I did not. No.
Holy shit!
No, I knew it was. I was right there with the guys.
But I knew you. I knew you guys were on it. I knew that you guys were formidable, won a championship, doing great things. What has been your experience at Joe Gibbs Racing that has resulted in that?
Yeah, I mean, it's it started in 2015 at Furniture Row.
Yep.
With the group out there, and we transitioned into running Toyotas out there with the Gibbs Alliance, and now racing for Joe Gibbs Racing. Just this sport is all about people, and I've been fortunate enough to be with some great people, be with great teams, and I don't even know how to explain it, but once things start going well, it's easier to deal with all this. It's easier to do your job. It's easier to say, if you have a bad day, it's easier to walk away and say, that's all right, we're going to be fine next week. You're not living on every single race as being the end of the world,
Which you've done.
I've been in those situations.
In a big way.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just, my mindset, my perspective has changed as I've grown older. 2014, we all know that story with Sherry and what that's done for my psyche. And
there will be people watching this, listening to this, who don't know that story.
Well, I mean, my girlfriend Sherry, she's been battling cancer since 2014, but a diagnosis of ovarian cancer back then, and just floored us, and kind of just reminded me that, hey, I'm lucky to get to do this. This is a job. It's a great job, but you got to look at it the right way. You got to understand how blessed you are, how lucky you are to get to do this, and
Amen.
And if you have a bad day, hey man, quit your whining, stand up, brush yourself off, and get back to work. And that just kind of changed my whole attitude towards the sport and how I approached it, and the success has come along with that.
What has your experience with Sherry taught you about your philanthropic work? How did you make that first step? I spoke with a fan outside the ropes here that said you're her favorite driver for that reason. So do you have any idea of how those moves, how that work has paid off?
Yeah, we started our foundation long before Sherry had been diagnosed, and it was crazy that we got led down this avenue of wanting to help, pediatric cancer and kids and their families, and just the impact that we felt like we were having there. And then all of a sudden, Sherry has cancer. It was a crazy story, but I think with all that and with the foundation, it's just made it more special to us. It's kind of made us understand what these people go through, and especially Sherry. Her passion is giving back and trying to help people with this disease while trying to fight it herself. It's unbelievably inspirational. But for me personally, it just hit closer to home, and I really understand the people that it affects and what it does to their life.
It's such a beautiful thing, and I'll tell you, one of the moments for me, I wrote a book a few years ago called Never Settle, and I did not put y'all's story in it yet because your story's not all the way written yet. And I'll never forget the opportunity to sit at my Homestead Miami Speedway in the hour after you won the championship, you and Sherry, and just like fellowshipping together, being emotional together, drinking a shitload of beers together because of everything that you have gone through, from the Michael Waltrip scenario and the Napa thing to Furniture Row to now being a champion and at the absolute pinnacle of the sport and an amazing ambassador for the sport. That was cool. And I will write that in a book someday.
That's awesome.
I will. So let's transition to hunting. One of your greatest passions is the outdoors, fishing, of course. What is your dream outdoors trip? Because at Outsider, that's what we're all about.
My dream is probably to go up to the Yukon and hunt moose with a bow and arrow.
Wow.
Bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Moose with a bow and arrow.
Yeah, that's literally on my bucket list. So, when I retire, it's going to happen.
Have you read up on what it takes to take down a moose with the bow and arrow?
Yeah, I have, and I've watched guys do it on TV, videos, et cetera, whatever.
That means you can do it, right? If you can see,
yeah,
watch a guy do it on TV.
You learn a lot on YouTube.
That's just like I could go win Daytona.
No, but I mean, I kind of know a little bit what it entails, and obviously it definitely looks hard, but I think it'd be a hell of a challenge. The only thing is the grizzly bears. I'm a little
dicey.
Yeah, it's a little dicey. So, I mean, going to have a big side piece on,
Bow and arrow versus a grizzly bear. I don't like your odds.
Yeah, so what's the most exotic hunt you've been on?
Nothing crazy. You know, pretty much everything here in the States. You know, I enjoy going out west hunting elk. I've taken, I think, 5 elk with a bow, so I've got a bit of experience with big game, but nothing really exotic like out of the country or no crazy wild, you know, bucket list kind of trip.
You and Dale got big bucks in Ohio?
Yeah, we've got some big ones. We've killed a few of them, and we've got some running around right now. They've been running around all year. Nobody messing with them, so let them grow big.
Look out. Look out, guys. It's coming.
Talladega Nights or Days of Thunder?
Days of Thunder. Yeah, a bit more realistic in my eyes. A bit. I said a bit.
A little.
A little bit.
A little?
A little bit.
The thing that I love about Talladega Nights, for me, it's not even – it's just bigger than a sports movie. It speaks to so many things about the culture around this sport, the culture of the people that love it, and I think just everything that it does with the, you know, the fake advertising reads just gets me every time. But you do have a point that Days of Thunder is slightly more realistic.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me too, it was like it was a part of my growing up. You know, like I went to the theater with my dad to go see that. You know, he was racing, I loved racing. It was a big deal for us, so it was a little bit different. But cool story about Talladega Nights. We went and seen a premiere of that when we were in Sonoma. I guess it might have been 05, 06.
05.
But didn't we go to L.A. to see it?
I didn't, but we were out in Sonoma, and George Lucas had a showing of it at his theater, like on his ranch,
wow,
his compound, and a bunch of us from DEI went and seen it there, which was pretty cool.
George Lucas and Talladega Nights. That's a combo.
I went to the premiere. I covered the Talladega Nights premiere for NASCAR.com way back when I was with them, and I had on this horrible, like creamsicle, orange, sky blue, brown, like striped button-down shirt, and Will Ferrell came down the red carpet, and he goes, "It's a really nice shirt, man." And he had on a Crystal Gale 1984 World Tour T-shirt. I said, "Yeah, you win." So again, there's no easy transitions on this, but this is the 21st anniversary of Dale dying. Here at Daytona. You're one of Junior's best friends. You know him as well as anybody. You were with him in, at Chance 2, like in the real close years after that happened. So you saw firsthand what he carried. How do you describe what he carried on behalf of the sport in the aftermath of his dad dying?
Just a lot of everything. You know, I think a lot of pressure, and I think it affected his racing. You know, to some extent, but I think at the end of the day, he still loved to race. He loved racing. It was just all the outside stuff. I think once he got in the car, he was his happiest. And outside the car, he just was always pulled in 100 directions. And I think, you know, that had to be tough to deal with. I feel like he dealt with it really well.
Amazingly well.
Because, I mean, I never really seen him complain about it, or, you know, it's not like he lived, you know, in a hole in the ground. I mean, we went out and had fun and did stuff, and he was always, you know, doing fun stuff. So I think he did a hell of a job with it. I can't imagine the pressure he felt, and, you know, maybe how much was hiding in there.
I can't imagine it either. And I mean, I've said it even on this podcast before. He saved the sport because everybody looked at him. Are we going to race or not?
Yeah.
Is it okay to move forward or not? And he raced. And so, in my estimation, that's why we're sitting here.
Yeah, I mean, I just know I watched it all on TV back then. You know, it was a couple years before I got involved. But, you know, even when I got there at DEI in 03 to run the Busch car some, you know, it was still Dale Earnhardt's place. Like, everybody there always talked about Dale, and they always had that pride of working there because of Dale. And that went on for, you know, a couple more years, which was amazing. So cool to be a part of that and hear all the stories of guys that have been there for 10 years or whatnot. So very lucky that part of my career I got to see a lot of different things like that.
So what do you think we're going to see Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be typical Daytona 500.
I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, these days everybody puts it on the floor and they try to fit it in a hole that isn't there, and there's no telling. I mean, we could have a big crash on lap 10, or it could be not till lap 120. I don't know. You just never know these days. It's really hard to tell throughout the week how the start of the races are going to go at this place, and there's nowhere safe, that's for sure.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Love your spirit. I appreciate your friendship.
Yeah, man.
I said before you sat down, old Martin Truex Jr.'s turned into a silver fox, just like me.
He did say that.
So have I.
Experience, brother.
But we earned them.
Earned it.
You and me earned these gray hairs. Thank you, brother.
Damn right. Thank you, man. Good
Appreciate
to see you, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Now, I've been looking forward to this one. My buddy Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is here, and look, this man is like a Renaissance man, y'all. This man, he's like a golf champion in the NASCAR garage. He's like CrossFit world god. Like,
that's a little bit of a selling point, but I like it.
Look, I got your back, dude.
Sounds like
I'm
an amazing
I'm
selling
your
point.
hype man, dude. I'm your hype man. And a Cup Series driver. So I want to start with something I was just talking to Martin about, momentum. NASCAR has a lot of momentum right now that I haven't felt in a while. I want to know your perspective on the momentum.
So, obviously I got into the sport 2008.
Yeah, well, that's sort of when it actually
And it
had
was
peaked.
There.
Yep.
I mean, I remember going to Homestead Miami Speedway 2007 with Roush Fenway, and I was like, holy cow, like, I had no clue what I was getting into. And then obviously I saw it kind of decline. And to your point, like right now, I feel like, I don't know what it felt like leading up to 2007-ish.
It was bananas, dude. The absolute pinnacle for me. Now, I'm old. You're not. I'm old. Remember, I was around before you got here.
Right.
Dude, from like 3, 4, 5, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Every racetrack was sold out to the gills, expanding the racetracks, adding seats. Network television numbers were crazy, doing 6, 7, 8. Like, the rating was a 6, 7, 8. I mean, stupid.
Nuts.
So,
like I said, I don't know what that was like, but like I feel that right now.
I do
and I mean, heck, I was just out in the campgrounds, taking some Kroger swag out and some
Sweet.
groceries, and like the fans are jacked and running through the infield in the mornings. Just about I haven't seen many empty camp spots.
They drinking any cold beer out there?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little
We should have
bit.
done the show out there.
You should have. But no, like, and I did a Q&A yesterday, and I told the fans, I'm like, dude, like, this is awesome.
It is awesome.
And like, I feel, when I went from the Nationwide Series to the Cup Series in 13, obviously super pumped, ready to go.
Champion.
Yeah, coming off the momentum from the champion. And right now, like, I feel that right now, for myself and my team, brand new car, I feel it for the sport. I'm ready to go.
I'm glad that you are corroborating and validating my sensation. Like, I just drove in here for the first time today, right? And I know what this place feels like. I've said it multiple times as we've interviewed your peers today. I have covered it all now. And when I come to the Daytona 500, it feels like coming home.
No doubt.
And I came through the Turn 4 tunnel earlier, and I drove down the backstretch over here, and I'm like, dude, it's a fever pitch.
It's shoulder to shoulder.
Lid's going to blow off of this thing on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
What's the best story, best thing you've witnessed in the infield?
This will be good.
There's got to be something that sticks out.
It might be two people doing something they shouldn't be doing. At least in public.
I mean, yeah. It was, man, I don't know. I should have thought about this.
I put you on the spot.
You did.
But you're running through. I mean, you're seeing it firsthand. You're getting, I think, a glimpse.
Well, I've definitely ran through the infield and seen people where they lay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any walks
where
of shame?
where they laid the night before. They're still laying
Sure.
there, which is always classic, right?
Hey.
You definitely see people stumbling back to their campgrounds.
Yeah.
No clue where they stayed. Have an idea.
I saw some firewood out here that does not look like firewood you can just buy from Kroger. They chopped this stuff down. It still had leaves on it. And it just, how resourceful these fans are.
Still had leaves on it.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, yeah, wood's expensive these days. Got to go get it yourself.
That's right. Everything's expensive.
Yeah, I mean, got to go get it yourself. But, to your point, like, things are expensive. People are still coming. They're still coming out.
It's opportunity cost.
It's great.
They want, like, especially after COVID, we are made to gather. We gather as people.
We
That's
took it
what
for
we
granted.
do. We took it for granted.
No doubt.
Concerts, sporting events. This thing is going to be crazy. Luke
Yeah.
Combs hits first chord.
He's got no, like he did it last year.
It's going to be.
He's got no clue. Like
It's
I mean,
gonna
it's going to be. He's going to feel like he's never played the 500 before. I feel like when he plays Sunday.
So let's discuss this CrossFit deal. All right. I don't know if y'all don't follow Ricky on the social media. You're doing these crazy workouts. Explain to me how you found the passion for CrossFit being in your life.
Have you met Rich Froning?
No.
So Rich Froning came to Bristol race. Met him. I had dabbled in some CrossFit a little bit here and there just because I got tired of just doing the same old gym routine. And I love the competitiveness of it. Met Rich, really kind of took off. He would send me workouts. He's the CrossFit god.
Okay.
He's 4 or 5-time champion, single, individual, and teams. And so we became, really good friends, and he'd send me workouts. And then now I got a trainer who never really did CrossFit. He trained Casey Kane for 9 years. And then when Casey retired, I was like, man, I kind of want a trainer. I feel like it would help me push to the next level on the fitness side. And he liked the idea of CrossFit. And so we incorporate that into our workouts. But now he's got me running a lot more than I ever have. I just ran today, and by the time Sunday comes, I'll be close to 30-something miles this week, putting in time on the road. So
you're going to lean out
lifting.
like crazy. If you keep doing that, you're going to lean out a lot.
I need to.
I remember when he had Casey doing all that running.
Yeah.
Like crazy amounts of running, and Casey wasn't but 130 pounds anyway.
Casey struggled to keep weight on.
He could not do it.
I have no problem eating and keeping weight on. So that part I got figured out. But it's the fitness side. I mean, you see that down here in Daytona, the gym's been full.
Yep.
Obviously, beginning of the year, everybody wants to get going, get that momentum going, start the season.
Up.
Feel like you're putting in all the effort. But no, we got a good group, man. We got a lot of drivers that work out at my gym there in North Carolina, and it's been really cool to see people come in that really hadn't pushed themselves working out, and then help them go to the next level.
What are some names?
Cole Cusser, Todd Gilliland, Riley Herbst,
guys that got a future.
Blaine Perkins in the Truck Series, Jesse Little comes, got some IMSA guys. So Brandon Brown's coming. We just trying to build up the camaraderie there. It's pretty fun working out with other drivers because you definitely push a little harder than you do by yourself.
Back to Days of Thunder.
That's right. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and ask you. Out of Talladega Nights, Days of Thunder, what's your flick?
Days of Thunder, like.
Amen.
Not even close. I think I've seen Talladega Nights once, maybe twice.
How many times you seen Days of Thunder? 50?
Oh, I've seen Days of Thunder lot. Came out, 1991?
90, I think.
91. And it just doesn't get old.
Oh.
No.
Like, it does not
Play it
get
on a
old.
loop.
It's on TBS at 2:30 in the morning when I come in after 6 or 8 cocktails.
And
I'm
you'll
watching
watch
it
the whole
until
thing.
it's over.
Yeah. And I don't do that with movies. Like, I'll watch a movie and I'm done with it. Like, I don't rewatch movies. I don't watch a ton of movies anyway.
Me
but
either.
Days of Thunder comes on, definitely watch it.
So if you're not a movie guy, what is your favorite movie? You're a little like me. I know. I got a feeling when I tell you my favorite movie, you're gonna go.
So one of my favorite movies, and I don't know why, I guess this is another one that I will watch, Shooter.
I don't know if
Shooter.
I've ever seen Shooter.
With Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah,
I've seen it.
What?
That is a repeatable movie.
I mean, it's
No
so
doubt.
good.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's on the.
So
it's on
there's
my
a
list
Shooter on USA Network.
Spoiler alert, there's a shooter in the film.
There is a shooter in the film.
Yeah.
But every time I watch it, I want to go get some long guns because, like, he could shoot something he could hit something in Port Orange from here.
Yeah.
Like,
This isn't about Chris Kyle, is it?
no.
That was
That's American Sniper.
Right.
I bet this got Chris Kyle going. Like,
Think so?
I don't know. I'm telling you, Shooter, Mark Wahlberg.
Okay, I'm in. I'll
He'd
watch
be like,
Marky Mark.
it's like trying to figure out the wind.
it. Tombstone.
Dial him in. Tombstone. Okay, I could see that.
Greatest movie ever.
It's
Greatest
got
movie of all
everything
time.
you could want.
It's got it all. It's got booze. It's got guns. It's got conflict, lots of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you want, man. It's got, I mean,
All right.
wide herp.
Got to go shooter.
Okay, I'll watch it. You ever seen Hell or High Water?
No.
That's your homework.
I'll do it.
It's your homework.
And I'll report back.
You need to report back. I need
He's
a
never
full-
going to watch it again.
I need
Yeah.
a full report.
Full report. All right. Hell or high water. I mean,
Good.
hey, I might need something to do tonight.
Yeah, there you go. Who was your most intense rivalry with on the golf course? Imagine there's tiers to these drivers, but it has to get kind of competitive out there.
Denny Hamlin and I
Definitely
battle.
DH.
We're both left-handed. We both. It's in our spirit. We both rise to the occasion. Whether I have a better handicap than he does at the time, or vice versa, we always play normally straight up, and we both just play 10 times better when we're playing against each other in the same foursome.
Were you with him when he hit the albatross?
I was not.
That blew my mind.
That's spectacular.
That is hard as hell to do.
Yeah, I have never been close to an albatross.
Did someone witness it?
Yeah,
The whole world.
Yeah,
it was on
yeah.
video.
Okay.
They actually captured
So it's
it.
been
We
corroborated.
like golf. We don't play golf by ourselves.
Yeah.
So there are going to be people who don't know about the golf guys. These clowns have an entire golf league.
So Denny and I were at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We were testing. Lunch break goes. We're sitting there eating. We're like, man, let's put a group together. We always play golf together. Let's make it legit. Entry fee, trophies, point system. Points.
Gear.
Points.
Gear.
We got logos.
Somebody's got to be the beer drinker.
We got logos. We got everything. And so it started out that way. Then we started getting sponsors for it. Then our group, we're at 24.
Jump the shark.
We got 24 people now.
What's the league called?
Golf guys.
Golf guys.
Just
tour.
golf guys.
The most frustrated amateurs on tour.
Okay.
And we've got handicaps from 24s to +3s. And we all battle it out, make every putt, no give-me's.
I love that. That's how it should be.
That's
Yes.
exactly how it should
Got to
be.
hear the hole, the ball hit the bottom of
You
the
ever
hole.
hit a hole in one?
No.
No.
I've got buddies that are really, really good at golf that have never
Never
made a
done
hole
it.
in one. I've got one buddy that's had 12
12?
and
12?
like 6 on par 4s.
Does he play every single day of his life?
No, but he used to.
Did you see what happened at the 16th at the Waste Management?
Dude.
That's bucket list for me.
That was
I gotta
a party,
go.
huh?
No, I've never been to that
So
tournament.
I
Gotta go.
told my agent, Josh Jones, that I want to play in the Pro-Am. So I want to play in the Pro next year. I'll play Pro-Am, and you come.
I'll be there.
Hanging out at the 16th is unbelievable.
So you've been in the crowd? You've been in the stadium,
yes,
as it were?
Yes, and it is unreal.
Describe it.
It is.
Frat party?
So, I mean, I would take college, frat parties, infield at Dega.
Awesome.
Trying to think of what. I mean, you could just keep on and on about the atmosphere.
Super intense.
And, I mean, these guys are hitting shots, right? And the expectations go up, I feel like, throughout the weekend. Hit the green, everybody cheers early in the week. And then as the week goes, if you're not within 8 feet,
boo,
they're booing you, right? So, did you see Michael Phelps wore his whoop for Wednesday Pro-Am?
No.
So Michael Phelps, obviously one of the greatest athletes. I feel like he could regulate his heart rate pretty good. He hit 152 before he hit his tee shot at 16.
I believe it.
I mean, the nerves
I believe it.
have to be. I want to experience that.
So I had an idea.
Wow.
You know, covering the Masters every year for ESPN, I had an idea that I wanted to put. There's something called Catapult. Are you familiar with Catapult? All the college football, big Power 5 programs, it's this little sensor they put in the shoulder pad, and it gives you every single aspect of body telemetry you could imagine.
Really?
Load,
Yeah.
impact, speed, all of it. All GPS driven. And I wanted to put a Catapult on Tony Finau. Because
Yeah.
have you been to Augusta?
Yeah. It's a lot of walking.
A lot of walking, and it is a lot of undulation is the word
Yes.
they use.
Yes.
A lot of damn hills.
No doubt.
I would love to see what they burnt, how far they walked, the heart rate or heart rate differences.
So the caddies is what I feel like is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean,
Carrying
they
them
put in a
bags.
ton of work.
Yeah, they do.
and
they're getting down there days before, and they're
they're
walking
putting loops in. They're out walking, whether they're golfers practicing or not. They're out there making laps and double checking everything. It's crazy.
All right, we'll get you out of here. I want to know what you're expecting on Sunday in terms of how the race will unfold, what the racing looks like. I mean, it's going to be Daytona. We know that what's coming.
It's typical Daytona. I think you saw a little bit of conservative in the clash, with, not the clash, the duels. The duel one, obviously, got single file pretty quick. I felt like a lot of the Speedway racers were in duel two. And
well, y'all got to save cars, too.
So that was in everybody's mind. But it comes down to the 500. Nobody's thinking, man, I hope I have this car for another race, right?
Save this.
We're there for the Harley J. Earl Trophy, and that's what we want, right?
Yes.
You want to be in victory lane. That's all that matters. And so you are going to race. It's going to be, like you said, typical Daytona, I think, now that everybody has gotten there with their cars, except for one. We are side by side to start. We all get in a comfortable position. Like, I start 18th. I don't want to be 18th.
Right.
I want to get to the top 10 somewhere. And then, selfishly, I don't care if it gets single file if I'm in the top 10, right? But you have to be – the make or break is going to be pit stops. You saw it last night. You have to get on and off pit road clean with a group of people.
Yep.
You can't do it by yourself, and you can't have two cars. So that will be the make or break. I think you could see a lot of people go a lap down if they don't do it right. And that's nerve-wracking knowing that you got to get off of, running 200 miles an hour, pit road speed. Your pit crew's got to do their job. Then you got to get back out on the track with a solid group of people. We pitted from the lead last night, second, and we had a couple little hiccups, and I didn't keep up with them leaving, and that took me out of contention to win the race.
It's going to be fun. Great momentum in the sport, great young stars in the sport. I can't wait to see how this unfolds. I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship, and we got to go play golf
Thanks
sometime.
for letting me come back on since I bailed on you.
It happens.
On the leg.
It happens, bro.
He had me do an 8 a.m. podcast.
Yeah, it's not going to work out.
Him and Marty. Ain't no way.
Hey, McGee,
Yeah.
So
that's early.
4 o'clock is a much better time for
4 o'clock, much better. Hey, I'd make that now. I get up and work out in the mornings now. So
I come running with you.
let's do it.
No. All right. See ya. All right, one of my buddies is on now. Well, the other guys are my buddies too, but Corey,
This one's actually your buddy.
Not like
this
me,
is
though.
my mountain biking partner right here. He's seen me eat it.
Covered in blood.
He also almost killed me. By the way, I got my shoulder. All right, so let me back up. So Corey does a great job in terms of his charitable endeavors, and he put together a celebrity kickball game in Kannapolis, North Carolina.
Oh, it's your fault.
October, right? Wasn't it last
Okay.
October?
Yeah, definitely my fault.
So Corey gets me to come play in his game. I'm playing third base, all right? I'm cheated way up towards home plate because we're not going to get beat short. They're going to have to beat us long.
Over the top.
Over the top. So old Ryan Blaney, old YRB, he steps in, and he boots this thing down
Rifles
the third
one down the
baseline.
third baseline.
Rifles it.
Marty's on the hot corner.
Hot corner. And I had told myself walking in the door, don't try to leg out any singles. Don't get hurt.
He looked like A-Rod, not from the Yankees days.
Not
from
his
the,
prime.
From the
from
Mariners.
days. Like a young A-Rod out there.
Woo! So
He did not get up very quick.
I catch this thing, and I just know it's not good. I've hurt myself bad. And all my friends run over trying to pick me up. Like, great play, bro. That was awesome.
He said,
And they're
I said,
get back.
Get off of me. And LaJoie,
You were like Matthew Stafford.
Corey leans down and he goes, bro, are you okay? Dude, you are white as a ghost.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm okay. I got to go walk this one off.
Yeah.
It's your fault. By the way, I still feel it. I lift chest every third day. It goes crack, pop, snap, and it hurts.
I'm just glad you think about it every 3 days.
So you guys,
I cuss you every 3 days.
I love that.
you guys can get hurt as a part of your career. For guys like Marty and I, if we get hurt, there's a conversation at home. What the hell were you thinking?
That wasn't even the worst time when he got hurt when I was with him. We were
Dude.
mountain biking.
Tell them that story.
Well, we were riding Lake Norman State Park, and my man goes ass over tea kettle. He's got his shoulder banged up. I don't think it hit the moneymaker, though.
It
I
did
don't
not,
think
thank God.
I
but
don't think it got the hit. Were you in a sling?
I was in a sling after kickball.
Kickball. Okay. I can't remember. They all run together
They
at this
do.
point in time. But, yeah, my man goes down. I get after on a mountain bike, too. We both.
go.
There's no, like, I'm going to have a leisurely ride here. No. When you see that first hill, you get after it. Like, that little self-preservation switch when your hand wants to drag the rear brake, just turn that one right off. He doesn't even have a switch to begin with.
Go with it, baby.
So, yeah, and, he starts riding a little faster. I start riding a little faster. Next thing you know, you're hauling ass. And luckily for me, he was the one that went down first because it was inevitable one of us was going down.
What I'm learning here is that anytime Marty hangs out with you, he gets hurt. So I'm going to keep my distance.
That's not an inaccurate statement.
It's not an inaccurate statement. When you put two competitive guys in the same room that have mutual respect for each other but want to push each other, that's what you get sometimes.
I'll tell you, during COVID, when we couldn't gather, when we couldn't be together, Corey and I would go out in the woods on those bikes, and, man, it like filled me up spiritually, too. It wasn't just, man, this is a great workout. It's great to hang out together. But Corey has a depth about him as a person, as an individual, as a human, that really impacts and inspires me. And those days matter to me. We got to get back after it.
We do. I didn't expect to get sentimental here because we're in sunny Daytona,
Oh, are you
Florida.
kidding me?
But, I mean, hey, I'll go as deep as y'all want to get. But it was cool. Anytime, Marty asked me to jump, I asked how high because, man, just him putting in the work in the NASCAR side and then parlaying that into what he's been doing with his career, man, it's cool to be able to watch. And he's he wasn't originally a hometown kid, but now he's only, a couple miles away from the house. So
It's adopted him.
It's adopted him, no doubt.
So how does mountain biking, being in one of these bad boys, what's the similarities? What are the differences?
Dude, I'll tell you, mountain biking is the closest simulation you can get to this. Now, you might think that's the dumbest thing ever, but I'll explain why.
I'll take your word for it. I mean, I've never done it.
It's hand-eye coordination. There's not a whole lot of balance in this stuff, but there's the keeping your eyes up to make sure you're hitting your marks because you got to hit your marks through the woods. There's also, like I was talking about, that self-preservation switch of when your brain's like, you're going too fast, you're going to bust your ass. Well, I think I can go a little bit faster. And that's like the same thing at Richmond. Like, I think I can get into turn 3 a little bit deeper. And you get your body and your brain acclimated to pushing a little harder. And what you think is your 100% threshold keeps getting a little bit further. So that's why I love mountain biking so much. My owner doesn't like mountain biking so much because they're only one tree away. Now, the big thing now used to be when Jimmy was here and Matt Kenseth was here, those guys would get 20 of them guys and they'd road bike. Every other person you pass is looking down at their phone, looking off, messing with the radio. All it takes is one rear view mirror, man, clipped, and you're in the woods. So I would rather hit a tree that's stationary than get clipped by a moving car.
That's actually one main reason why I have started mountain biking so much more. I was one of those guys that was in that peloton, for lack of a better word, with Jimmy and Kenseth and Almirola and Sean Curlin and all that whole bunch. Dude, I was out in Kannapolis by myself on my road bike one day, and I got not lost, but disoriented a little bit. I was way out by DEI. You know where I live, way the hell out there.
Yeah.
So I got lost enough where I was like, I'll just go to 73 and ride back to Huntersville on 73.
That's a bad road.
Stupid. And I got blown off. This is about, for y'all listen, this is a 55 mile an hour, one lane each way highway that leads from Huntersville, North Carolina to I-85 out towards Concord. Well, I got blown off of that road by a dump truck. Like literally, poof, blown. Down into a ditch, storm drain right in front of me. I had to try to bunny hop my bike over the storm drain.
What'd you hit?
Totaled myself. The storm drain with my front tire. Flipped in. Dude, ass over tea kettle.
Yard sailed it.
I just laid there.
I'm loving these expressions, man.
Well, welcome to NASCAR.
Yeah.
Yard sailed it.
Yard sailed it.
But when you say yard sale, you know exactly what it means. When some
Yeah.
guy in
Look
skis
out in the
yard
front yard.
sales it,
Just all
right?
the shit.
Yeah.
shit
I don't need
everywhere.
any
Shit
context.
everywhere. So I'm laying there, doing the body check. Like, oh, I think my arm's not broke. My leg might be broke. Let me get up and check it out. That changed everything for me.
Yeah.
On the road.
Yeah, you're not getting blown off the trail by an oak tree.
Right.
I'd rather clip that thing
Right.
by my own doing and blame myself. But yeah,
So-
fitness is big, man, for me.
I want people to know this man has an unbelievable story of perseverance to get to a point where he's driving the number 7 car at the highest level of stock car racing in the United States of America. Absolute grinder. Absolute unwillingness to stop.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of those dudes that gave every ounce of himself to making it. Like,
I got a great story to
Yes.
that point. All right. I remember within probably a 20-foot range of where it was. My first, and he ties the story up at the end. So my first ever. All right, I'll back up even more. It's November. The musical chairs of what rides are getting taken up or over, right? So the worst team on the grid is BK Racing at the time. They had a couple charters. They had an open car. And I was pestering Ron Devine, the owner. I had no credentials. I had run 8 Xfinity races up to this point in time. I was not qualified to be in this Cup car, but it was the only opportunity that I had. And every day, I'm the squeaky wheel. Ron, please give me a chance. Please give me a chance. Every other day I'm calling them. Have you made a decision yet? I'll come sweep the floors, clean the shitters, whatever you need me to do. Let me drive the car. No motion, right? Jimmy Johnson was fresh off his 7th championship. I had to phone in the big dog. I said, Jimmy, I need a favor. What do you need? I need you to call Ron Devine. He's the owner of BK Race, and I need you to put the good word on for me to see if let me drive this car. Sure, no problem. Send him over the number. He was on the ski lift in Aspen. Brings them up. They talk for 45 minutes. Ron calls me right up. If you're good enough for the 7-time champ to vouch for you, then you're good enough for my car. 1 race deal, Daytona 500. Because, one, it pays $300,000, $250,000 to start.
Yep.
So if you don't make that one, you're not going to Fontana next week, right? The car's not locked in. We were the slowest car in qualifying by like 3.5 seconds. Starting dead last in the feature, in the dual race, and there's 2 other guys we got to beat.
Somebody wrecked?
It looked like it.
Racers,
No,
that's what
he's
they
still
do.
good. He's still good. Sorry.
Racers see that and their head snaps.
He wasn't even looking.
Yeah, I felt it. But so there was one guy on our team, because this was like the car that if it makes a race great, if not, whatever. There's one guy pushing it through tech. That guy's off setting the tire pressure or something. So before the race, Ron Devine, the owner, says, "You've done a great job this weekend, big guy. But if you don't make the race here, I think this is it for the 83 car, and we'll close the doors." And puts the window net up. Mind you, I haven't ran one Xfinity Speedway race, nothing. And I don't know, 21 years old, and I'm like, okay, I guess this is it. Like, let me cinch these
Pull 'em
belts
tight,
down right
baby.
quick. So I spend the first half the race just learning the draft, learning what positions you can put your car in, and I find myself nose to tail with the guy who I had to beat to get into the race. And he kept showing the middle, leaving the middle open to the tri-oval, which, come to find out now, for a reason, like nobody goes through the middle in the tri-oval. I didn't know any better. All I know is I got to beat this guy in front of me.
You didn't know.
I stick in the middle, gets him arrow loose, ends up wrecking him. Felt bad about it.
Sorta.
Like months later. And I get out. It's like, okay, we're racing the Great American Race, right? Surely enough. So when you qualify in, you get to the media center, the whole deal. I forgot what question Marty asked, and it just like, yeah, snap. Like, it was like, to his point, all the years of me flying to Bakersfield, California, crew chief in a car just to pay the bills, driving these crap boxes just to stay in the garage to keep my network continue to build slowly, all like built to this moment of getting a chance to race the Daytona 500. And that one race led into 34 more throughout the course of the year, parlayed that to the next deal. I mean, it's literally like playing NASCAR 2000 career mode where you get in with the lowest team, you go to the next lowest team, and now I'm in a good spot here at Spire Motorsports where we can go be competitive.
It's so fun.
It sounds like a movie.
And I don't know if it'll be, he could probably narrate it here when it comes around, but that's the thing. We are in the beginning of what I think is a Corey LaJoie movie. Like, there is still chapters to be written. I feel like, 30 years old, I still have 10 years of career at my prime left, and I feel like I'm in a great spot outside the racetrack with all the marketing stuff I've been able to do with the partners, Built Bar, Schluter Systems, and some others. The podcast with what NASCAR's allowing me to do with on their platform. So once I can get this competitive side matched up with what the traction I've got off the track, it's going to be really special.
So I wanted to mention the podcast. It's called Stacking Pennies. Corey does it down at NASCAR's headquarters down in downtown Charlotte. And I want to know, like, first of all, how has having that platform to share instant feedback, receive instant feedback, and learn media impacted the way that you operate out here?
Man, it's in ways that I didn't anticipate, right? Because there's a lot of layers to it that I have to learn how to say things that I view in the right way to be received like how I want them intended to be. Because being a current competitor, not being a consistent competitor for wins like the guys on this side of the garage, you can say things in a way that might sound spiteful, like if I had this or if I had what that guy had, but that doesn't do anything but make me look like I feel a certain way about it. I have to talk unbiased about the sport on what I feel is most of the time great about it, because there's lots of great things going on with NASCAR right now, but I've had to work at it. I've had to stick my foot in my mouth plenty of times and learn how not to say things, but I feel like with my buddy Ryan Flores is the pit road boats and woes analyst. He changes front tires for Penske. Chuck Busch, who works at NASCAR, as well as Jonathan Merriman. Like, we're a good group, and we can put our heads together. I don't have a whole lot of weight on my shoulders in terms of carrying the show. It allows me to kind of be me and give the fans a little bit of a peek behind the curtain of what a mid-level team is up against versus some of the bigger teams. But and also, on the other hand, it's allowed me, I was on the I Am Athlete podcast, and they asked me about stacking pennies, and it's not a financial thing. Stacking pennies comes from when I started in the Cup Series, I was at the bottom of the barrel. I tried every way to try to get some sort of extrinsic motivation. You're never going to get it here. You're always going to get kicked in the teeth each and every week. So a sports psychologist started figuring out, okay, we have to figure out tangible victories throughout the course of the weekend, no matter what race car you're driving, and stack them up. That way you stay motivated to come back to the racetrack, pit road rolling speed, positive restart, position retention, like tangible things to keep you want to keep coming back. And that's where Stacking Pennies comes from, and the fans seem to sing by a name, so it's been a lot of fun.
I will come on as soon as possible. I can't wait to do it, and I have some homework for you.
All right.
Go ask Flores about the first day we met.
All right, I will.
It has to do with my competitiveness.
All right. I feel like I've heard this story, but
Flag football? Woo!
Yeah.
Me and him about
but we're going to dig into that when you come on
We
the
will.
show.
We about
I
through
appreciate
hands.
y'all having me on here.
Corey,
best,
rapid
brother.
fire, really quick, going to squeeze this in. Talladega Nights
yes.
or Days of Thunder?
Days of Thunder. I know y'all are trying to push me off. We know we got to go. Go check out my Instagram. The paint scheme reveal for the Daytona 500.
Yes.
We did a recreation of Harry Hyde when he's building a car in the barn.
Love that.
Go check that story out. Anybody's watching or listening.
What's your Instagram?
At Corey LaJoie.
There you go.
It's not that. It's pretty authentic. My name.
See you,
Thank
brother.
you, Corey.
Thank y'all.
I never realized it until right now, but Ben Kennedy and Wes Blankenship could be brothers.
We're related.
I mean, it's really remarkable.
We do look
if
pretty
you
similar.
If you sprouted a little more fur.
Yeah.
He probably shaved this morning.
I did a couple days ago. It gets too much and then it gets itchy. I just can't do it.
All right,
like
so
you've got a pretty impressive beard. I could never make it that far.
I'm gonna tell you something, man. I had it during the college football playoff. I had so much facial hair. I mean, I'm like a chia pet. I mean, that stuff just grows, man. It's crazy. But now I'm gray, Ben. I'm not a kid like you two anymore.
I'm with you.
I'm a silver fox.
I have a couple of gray hairs growing in.
I was
too.
giving Truex down the river. Martin's graying up. And I'm like, you and me, brother. So I want to give credit where it's due. The clash was Ben Kennedy's vision from the jump. It was a win, win, win. What was that day like for you, watching it all unfold?
It was a special day. I can't take full credit for it. A lot of people involved to be able to pull that off. We actually only had one full-time person that was working on that project. Her name was Amy Lupo, based out of Los Angeles. So a lot of people that had their day jobs that also spent a lot of time pulling that project together. But really a special day and a special moment for us, and something new and something different. Being in Los Angeles, such a big market for us, 1 week before the Super Bowl, and then something new and novel like that, creating a track inside a Coliseum, which we've never done before. And then you layer on top of that, a Pitbull concert, Ice Cube at the halftime break, DJ Ski playing throughout the event. There were a lot of new things that we wanted to test, and what better way to do it than an exhibition race. So it was a really special day. I'm sure you guys were out there, or at least saw it on TV. There was so much energy in that bowl, and it was just fun. Like, there is no other way to describe it than people were having fun. A lot of new people were out there. 70% of the people that were there on Sunday had never been to a NASCAR race before.
Holy smoke.
And then almost 20% of the people that tuned in on TV hadn't watched any of our races during the playoffs for the previous year. So a lot of new fans that were tuning in.
There's so much momentum right now. We've talked about it with drivers. We talked about it with Steve Phelps. I don't know that I could overstate it. I've been doing this a long time, and I haven't felt it like this in a long time. Driving into Turn 4 tunnel today, driving down through here, through all the campground, there is an energy. It's a beautiful energy. And I want to know, like, from your perspective, why? Like, what is the energy? Where's it come? I know we got a new car. I know, like, all of that. But to me, it feels like it's another plane than just the car.
It does, yeah. It really feels like it. To your point, I mean, growing up around the sport, and I remember 05, 06, 07, it was huge. I mean, you would come here and we'd have 150, 160,000 people here for the 500. It was massive. And it feels that way again, but it also feels different too. We have a next-gen car, which for a number of reasons is going to be fantastic for our sport. You have new owners coming in the sport, Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin, Floyd Mayweather making a Daytona 500. I think there's just so many exciting storylines going into the season, on top of, us doing stuff on the schedule side, esports, sports betting. We have so many different initiatives and projects that are going on, not just at NASCAR, but as a sport. And people are just executing on them. And it's really starting to come to fruition. And I think it's finally starting to come to a head around this weekend in the 500.
Energy's beautiful.
I like that you mentioned the esports, because I think it's easy to forget in those early dark days of COVID, that was one of the first ways that I saw that y'all were trying something. Y'all were putting your neck out there, and I was watching that stuff, man. Like, there has
All
to.
of us were.
I mean, it was fantastic.
Yeah, and Steve Phelps talks about kind of taking share from some of the other sports. I think that period of time in 2020, over the course of 2 or 3 months, was really a watershed moment for our sport. We went on pause for 8 or 9 weeks. And to your point, our fans were sitting at home and they were looking for content. They were looking for entertainment, and partnered up with iRacing and created the Pro Invitational Series to create content at those tracks we were supposed to be racing at, but in a virtual world. And it was cool to be able to kind of keep that momentum, be the first sport back with fans, the only sport to get in all of our events in the 2020 season. And then on top of that, all of the stances that we took around, the Confederate flag and social justice over that summer was really a pivotal moment for our sport, and I think helped set us up for a successful 2021 season. And I think the momentum has just continued to build, especially over this offseason, going into the Clash and then going into the 500.
So I want to get into the family business. For those of you watching, listening who may not know, Ben is the heir apparent, and decided to give up racing. was a race driver successfully, made the decision to get out of the seat and really immerse himself in the business of the business. Why was that the right decision, first of all? And second, what comes with being blood? I mean, you're blood.
Yeah, I guess I am.
You are, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've been around the sport my entire life. I've probably gone to every Daytona 500 since I've been born. And, you know, growing up, we were always around racing and around the sport and around the business. I think it's just always been natural to me and kind of part of my life and lifestyle. But, you know, I competed for 11 years, started in go-karts. I raced late models, eventually ran the Camping World Truck Series and then the Xfinity Series. And I had opportunities to continue running in, you know, either one of those series or even move up to Cup. And, you know, I kind of got to a point in my career where I was enjoying it. I was loving it. I finally felt like I was kind of getting my feet underneath of me as a driver. I wanted to keep going. But at the same time, I looked at myself, you know, I was mid-20s. I had a lot of energy. I was healthy. I was really passionate about the sport and more passionate about making kind of a footprint on the future of the sport. And I felt like it was a good opportunity for me to come over to this side. I knew at some point I was going to be on the business side, and what better time than now when I had a lot of passion and energy to come over and try to be a part of it and really have a purpose around it. So it was a tough decision. I talked to Steve Phelps. I talked to Steve O'Donnell. I can't tell you how many times to get to that decision. But it really came down to about 2 weeks in mid to late January of 20, I guess it was 18, and I made the decision, and I haven't looked back since.
That's a huge undertaking, and I'm curious, how do you prevent that from becoming bigger than what you're trying to accomplish, if that makes sense? How do you prevent it from swallowing you up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a balancing act at the end of the day. You know, certainly there's a lot that kind of comes with being in a position that I'm in and being with the family. You know, that said, I want to be a teammate to the people that are around me, and I want to be partners to everyone else that's in this sport. And I think that's the only way that we can really continue to have growth in the sport. It's us all working together and collaboratively. And I will say, to add on to everything that we've talked about, you know, around esports and next-gen car and schedule, I think another reason that we're on this trajectory and there's so much momentum around this weekend is the collaboration in this sport between the teams, the drivers,
no question,
the OEM partners, the tracks, the broadcast partners, is by far and away better than it's probably ever been before. It's certainly better than it's ever been in my lifetime, but I think it's better than it's ever been before, and we're all trying to drive what's in the best interest of the business, and that's a big part of it. So, you know, for me, I want to be a part of that team and continue to help drive it forward.
I've wanted to ask him this for a long time. I want to know about, so Jim is your great uncle, is that?
Yes.
Yes. All right, so great uncle, superstar, all right? Mom runs the whole, brilliant, your mother's brilliant lady. So you come in. If you have an idea, okay, the Clash. Let's just take the Clash. How does Jim France react when you have an idea that you think is going to work, is going to be big for the sport? Do they still look at you as like, hey, little Ben, or do they listen and go, that's okay?
They listen. I'm not gonna lie. It's a tough sell. Jim is a tough sell, and I think sometimes it might be more difficult for me than others too. But you know, he wants to hear. All right, take the Clash as an example. What's the reasoning behind it? The Clash is going to be a big investment. We have to, you know, build a facility in the middle of the track. There's going to be a lot of costs behind marketing and promoting it the week before the Super Bowl. This is going to be an investment, but it's going to be an investment in the future of our sport. And, you know, we have to position, hey, here's all the reasonings behind it, whether it's, you know, from a broadcast standpoint, from a fan standpoint, from the industry standpoint. So he wants to hear those reasons, and it takes time too. You know, for Jim in particular, it might take a few times that we actually have to sit down with him and kind of explain things. So, and I appreciate that because he keeps us on our toes, he keeps us honest, and he makes us work for it. And I think it makes it that much more gratifying when you're able to actually see it come to life, too.
You're doing a great job. Appreciate your time, brother.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Not my real brother.
All right, as y'all heard when we were talking to Corey LaJoie, my right shoulder will never be the same. It is ruined, it is destroyed. I try to do bench press, and it sounds like I stepped on a broken glass. He's why. Walk him through it.
I'm why your shoulder hurts, but there's a step in between. It's not like I went out and I drop kicked you.
Yeah, that's right.
We were at an amazing Corey LaJoie's kickball tournament. Marty and myself were on separate teams, and I happened to hit just the best line drive of my life, right up the third base line. And Marty made the most amazing grab I've ever seen in my life. I was impressed, and I was upset that I got out, but the most stretched out diving catch of a kickball, not a baseball with a glove. That takes more skill of grabbing that kickball. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I hate you got hurt from it.
I would give
anything,
it was awesome. If I could just let it go. Like if I could go back and just be like, damn, Blaney, you smoked that one. Good job.
No one remembers that. Everyone remembers your dive.
I don't know how it didn't make Sports Center top 10. I sent it to my bosses, like, put this thing on. What are we doing?
I really wish you would have.
I really wish that would have been good for all of us.
It's been
right?
great. Great coverage.
Great coverage for the Corey LaJoie Invitational. What should we expect out here?
That's a great question. I mean, we had a little taste of it last night in the duels, and that's so hard to kind of judge because it's half the cars as the 500, and that green flag pit cycle kind of just split everybody up. So you didn't really have a ton of pack racing like we'll have on Sunday. So I don't know what to expect. It's going to be pretty hot, slick on Sunday, and these cars are kind of a handful to drive already. Then you get 40 of us out there, and it's even tougher to drive. So be a lot of patience, a lot of kind of manhandling the race car of trying to keep it under you, but it'll be a good race, I'll tell you that.
I can remember when you were making the transition and making your way through the lower tier series before you really got entrenched with Wood Brothers, right?
Yep.
And I can remember having conversations with you about the frustration of, I know that I can do this. I just need somebody to believe enough in me to do this.
Yeah.
How do you feel now? You're a winner. You're up front everywhere we go.
Yeah.
So when you think back about that time, what would this guy say to that guy?
Yeah, I mean, you look back at the times before you get your big break, right? And you learn to appreciate where you're at, because you don't know if you're going to get your big break or a shot with a great team. Back then, I'd say 10 years ago, you don't know, so you try your hardest to just focus on yourself and do the best that you can. And if I could talk to my, 10-year-old younger me from 10 years ago, I'd just say be patient, and just work hard and not worry about, keep you up at night if you're going to make it or get a shot with an amazing race team like I've been able to get. So just patience is the big thing. It's easy to say now.
That's what I was about to say.
And when you're that young, it's hard to put that in your head, but and just keep working hard, man. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
There's beauty in the struggle.
Yeah.
Because of perspective. Like you're with one of the premier teams at the highest level. You're a winner. You're a competitor. You compete for wins all the time. But that struggle is such great perspective on the blessing of having this.
It is. It is. And honestly, I watched my dad in a similar spot of he never got a great shot with a Penske or Hendrick or Gibbs race team. He was around the sport forever, but he never had an amazing shot, a very fortunate shot like I had with an awesome team. But he just worked his butt off, and always persevered and made the best of situations. And he was a little bit older by the time he got into NASCAR, so that kind of hurt him. But I've been very, very fortunate. And it does make you, appreciate the people that have helped you out along the way to get to where you're at. It really makes you thankful for everyone who stepped in and supported you along the way.
I don't remember the year when his wheel came off at Atlanta.
That was...
He was in the 93 Amoco car for Bill Davis.
That had to have been 01. It was
it was around there for sure, because it was early in my time out here. Have you ever talked to him about it?
A little bit.
He's a quiet dude.
My dad is a very quiet guy. So I've talked to him a little bit about it. He doesn't really like to reminisce about past things. Like, he's just not really is that kind of person. He's just living in the here and now. But I've talked a little bit about him, and really the only thing he says is like, Yeah, our car was pretty good that day. That's all he
Come on.
says.
They were running away with that thing.
He was waxing all day.
dominating that thing.
Yeah. And so when I won Atlanta last year in March, that was the 20th anniversary of that race. So it was in 2001. And it was the 20th anniversary. And Dad texted me that day. He said, "Hey, how about you win one for me for the 20-year anniversry of when my wheel came off
And
at
then
Atlanta?"
you did it.
Yeah.
I didn't know this story. That's awesome.
Solar cycles are crazy every 20 years or something, but that was pretty neat. It was cool.
He, I do remember trying my damnedest to pull something out of your dad, like interviewing him. He just doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just not his deal.
Yeah, he's a quiet guy. He did Dale Jr.'s podcast one time, and he opened up pretty good, and talking about his dad, where kind of he came from racing in Ohio. So that was cool. Some of those stories I never heard. Kind of how Dad started in these, started in go-karts and how he got his first go-kart. And once you get Dad to open up, he's like an onion. You got to peel back some of the layers, and you finally you get something out of him, and it's always pretty good stuff.
So one thing that Ryan Blaney and I have in common is we love us some damn country music. All right, you got all kind of buddies in Nashville. Let's start with Cole. All right, you real close with Cole Swindell.
Yeah.
How'd y'all get to know each other, and how has the friendship evolved?
Yeah, so that's a funny story of me and Cole. He's a great guy, one of the nicest people I've ever met, and it's awesome to see him have success. So he was at a race in Kansas in like 2016. I was a rookie in the Cup Series, and I'm walking back to the bus after the race, and he's just walking down pit road wearing my shirt. He was like, "Ryan, man, I'm a big fan. Can I get a picture with you?" I'm like, "Heck yeah, you can." Like, I'm a big fan of you too. So that's just randomly how we met, and it's just evolved, from there.
What's your favorite song?
Of Cole's?
Yeah.
I mean, Dad's old numbers.
I can't listen to it.
That hits pretty hard.
He called me. So I lost my daddy too young. And that's how he and I became friends, is losing our fathers way too early.
Yeah.
And he sent me that song, and he called me and he goes, "Listen, You Should Be Here is great. That's a phenomenal song."
Yeah.
He goes, "This one, it's gonna hurt you. It's gonna wound you, dude."
Yeah.
And oh my Lord, did it wound me.
It's a tough song to listen to, but it just shows, the heart that Cole and all those people they put in, especially that song. I mean, when you lose a father too soon or a family member too soon, and to sit down and write about it like he did, and those feelings, that song gets me every time, and that's my favorite one of his.
Same here, and I love it, and I love him, and I'm so grateful for your time. I know we got to let you run, so thank you, brother. You are the best.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Good to see you.